would you end up writing?
I put in parentheses X and then CIA with an arrow. He's like, that's fair. I sat it down right before we got on. He's like, that's fair.
Speaking of ex-CIA, how do you feel about that John guy, Kiriakou?
John Kiriakou. Are we rolling, Deep? Yeah. All right, we're rolling. Yeah. Kiriakou's a good friend of mine. It would break my heart if he was still on the payroll, and I would genuinely be stunned because of all the things that people publicly know that he's gone through, that they put him through.
Right.
But beyond that, the things that he went through privately that he can't talk about.
Yeah.
If he did that and this were a sheep dipping situation, it is the most committed to a bit I have ever seen someone in my life. And it would be pretty heartbreaking.
Wouldn't a guy like that, though, talking about the he's talking about the people that he's seemingly involved with, why would they be letting him talk his shit for so long? He's doing a podcast tour about it.
Well, that's a great question. I think there's a couple reasons there. I think number one, there are people who are currently in government, despite all their own litany of PR issues, who see him as it's advantageous. Some of the other things that he's talking about, not when he talks about Epstein and Israel and stuff like that, that's not advantageous for him. But some of the other things he talks about,
he doesn't go heavy into the Israel thing. He alludes to it, almost like JD did the other day with Joe Rogan.
I think he's a little harder on it than JD because he worked.
Fair.
He had to work, in situations with Mossad guys and stuff, and that was a personal just disagreement. They did not like each other, but I think the other part of it is they also already ran him through the system. They threw his ass in prison and like they can't really do anything to him. He already had to plead guilty to a few charges that he wasn't guilty of. Like they already over his whole life. So at this point, it's like they created this Frankenstein, and now they just got to deal with it.
I guess I'm just so pessimistic now, especially when people talk about this. We know this going on. Why are you so freely allowed to just? Because people say once CIA, always CIA. Mm-hmm. I know he hates that. I know he hates that phrase, but it's like,
hey, it is a very fair point. Like my other friend Andy Bustamante, he 100% still works. I've been saying that since the first time he ever came on here. So it's.
But he would claim he doesn't.
Of course he claims he doesn't. He laughs at me. But on air, off air, I'm like, you don't fool me, pal. I see the government talking points. But then there's what I worry about more is when it's someone who doesn't have, you look across all these different shows that are happening now that have huge audiences, and someone comes on shows who doesn't have a resume anywhere near government, right? But something's going on there. I don't know. I don't know who those people are. Other hosts don't know who those people are. But why would messaging from whoever that might be, and it's not one person, I'm sure it happens more often than we think. Why would they want these people to say these things, whatever those are? I think about that a lot. I think about that a ton. There have been a couple times where I've been in the studio and I've been sitting with someone, and when they leave, I think about it, and I'm like, some of that felt a little unnatural. It's only been a couple times.
Like, why would they want me to know that type thing? Like, where are you getting at?
Hey guys, 3 quick things. Number 1, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's a huge, huge help. Number 2, if you'd like to join my Patreon for early uncensored releases of the full episodes, you can join via the link in my description or in the pinned comment below. And number 3, if you'd like to join my clipping community for a chance to make content from the show and make money, you can join via the Discord link in my description below. Like what? You talk with someone for 3 hours, right? So
sure. Get to know them a little bit.
You get to know them. Why'd they slide in this thing at the second hour?
Okay, got it.
Once we were already deep, it kind of had nothing to do with anything. And then I'm like, I'm just being paranoid because what the am I going to do about it?
Right.
I'm a YouTuber.
So you're saying maybe they had a little checkbox they wanted to hit before they got off with you?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And it never really came up. It was kind of forced by them?
A little bit, yeah. Or like a point that was made in there. And then I'm like, well, how many people are going to hear this? And then how many people are going to be, think like, oh, I really like this person, and then want to agree with them on that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's why it's like a psychological thing. It's very strange.
The psychological part, we could get into this the whole entire time.
Before we do, by the way,
please, Zach, this is your plane, sir. Go ahead.
We just opened this thing up. It's 21 questions right here, but we've been having a great conversation for an hour and a half. I love your work, man.
I love yours, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come here. We're gonna reach. Yeah.
But I love your videos. We'll get into your story today and everything, but you are really speaking for so many people, especially in the younger generations who, to use your phrase, are getting worried about whether or not there is in fact a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think if more people like you are, putting sunlight on there to be the best disinfectant, maybe we can turn some things around here, because I know you and I were talking, we're both optimistic people. And sometimes we're just looking at this world like, what the all the time. But, so you were in real estate for like a full decade or something like that?
Still am.
Before, and you still are, but
Yep.
like where you were full-time in that, selling houses all the time, and then the content thing started. We can get there. But before that, you were in the military as well?
Yep.
What part of the military?
So I actually joined the Army National Guard. I did not want to do the full-time Army thing. And then my unit said, as soon as I got back from tech school, which was a year long, I didn't know I was signing up for that. So then I got home and they're like, yeah, we're going to Afghanistan in a month. I was like, oh, So I turned into a real Army soldier real fast.
What year?
It's 2013.
Oh, this is when Afghanistan was popping.
Yeah, 2013. I didn't see anything nuts. We got bombed every other week or so. But let me hear me out. These are like rocket propelled grenades coming off mountains where they're currently watching their goats. Half of them end up going into the river. There's not anything like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it wasn't that crazy. It wasn't that crazy. I got more funny stories about when bombs were going off than any.
More funny stories.
More funny stories. Like when they knew we had a basketball tournament going on, they kept bombing us like every 20 minutes because they knew our time schedule. Like, oh, they're going to go to the bunker for 15 and then it clears and then it goes out. They were just ruining our basketball tournament.
Well, I appreciate them like working on schedule.
Yeah.
I want my bombers on schedule.
It's more irritating than anything. Oh yeah. July 4th hit. It was gigantic bombings that day. For sure.
So they'd throw a bomb and then you guys would light some fireworks off and like go.
Pretty much. But I got out of that. And then I did 2 years active within the Guard working in their marketing department. I helped make some of the
marketing for the Guard.
For Delaware. And I enjoyed that. That was like my first taste of having a little bit of creativity in a job. And so I think that kind of unlocked something that now I get to experience a lot.
Now, did they let you really get creative?
No.
Yeah.
No. In fact, back then, they got like a $50,000 sponsors. They're like, we need you to make this 16-foot banner for the Wilmington Blue Rocks. I'm like, how much? $50,000 for the Wilmington Blue Rocks.
All 10 people in the stands.
What if we fucking could we put that into a Facebook ad? I could make us a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
I could make us a band. There's so many kids on Facebook and Instagram right now. Blue Rocks. Okay. And they just had a budget that they had to hit. They're going to spend their money, and that was what it was. But I did get a little inkling of the creativity. That creativity would lead me to joining the Department of Corrections as a prison guard.
You were a prison guard?
As much as that sounds believable, yes. And one of the worst they've ever had.
Wait a minute. Wait, what prison?
Gander Hill was the one I spent the most at, which is actually not far from here, Wilmington.
Okay. How was that? Like, that's a psychological...
Honestly... Not bad to only be there for about a year. The people that spend their entire career there, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And Delaware is not one of those really hard prisons either. It's pretty low key, but
it's still a prison.
Yeah, and you're around people all day that are either there for their entire lives, they're depressed, they don't have anything to look forward to except like lunch. And people that are doing the same thing. They're like, I'm going to be here for the next 20 years, and the next thing I'm excited for is lunch. And that's just the people you hang around with all day for 20 years. And those people kind of become soulless, people. And it's not fun to be around. There was not much enjoyment in that job. But
did you get, because you're young doing that. I mean, that's an early job for you. Did you get some interesting perspective on life though? Like where you are, you're there to do a job. So sometimes you're talking with guys who are in there for whether it's 20 years or life or something like that. Like, they made decisions that put them in a bad position, obviously. And now they just sit there and watch the clock move until they die.
Yeah. I remember one good story that I was able, because the main thing I would get in trouble for, and I never got like written up, but I could like talk to, is I would talk to the inmates too much.
They didn't like.
Oh, I'll be talking ball with them. Be like, y'all see Kyrie last night? Be like, oh yeah, but like we were talking ball. You're allowed to. You're allowed to talk ball with the inmates. They're normal people.
I think Kyrie watches this show, so
hell yeah!
If he's out there,
what's up,
now,
Kyrie?
You know,
hey, listen, I was a Cavs fan when LeBron left. When Kyrie came to, oh my God, he was my god for a little bit.
Kyrie,
and then,
truth,
and then he became the truther before anybody else. I'll rock with Kyrie, man. Shout you out. The one story I remember a lot is there was this one guy. We were at a level 4 in Wilmington. A level 4 prison in Delaware is almost like work release.
Okay.
And so it's a weird spot because you get this combo of people who like evaded their taxes with someone who murdered people 20 years ago, and now they're kind of slowly getting back to society.
All right. So here's a novice take right here because I'm not familiar with the grading, but why do you have those people, if it's so close to a work release, why do you have people who are in like prison for life there too?
Because this is when they were, and it's not everybody that they do this to, but for the most part, when they're getting towards the end of their sentence, it like slowly gets them back into society. Like now you can go get a job. Now, yeah, let's slowly get
like
you back into it.
The end of the guy's life in
Shawshank. Yeah, exactly. Brooks. Yep.
Shout out Brooks.
Yep. And then he goes and does groceries for a little bit, and then he hangs himself. Exactly.
That's right.
That's it. I'm sorry I had to bring it up. It's sad.
Oh, you haven't seen that movie, man?
That scene kills me every time.
You haven't seen Shawshank? Oh, spoiler alert.
Hey,
Sorry.
You haven't seen The Godfather. I don't want to fucking hear it. I don't want to fucking hear it from you. Don't be making fun of my people. You haven't seen Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, and you're in New Jersey right now.
I hear you left out Godfather 3 there. That was interesting.
Listen, Godfather 3, misunderstood movie. But, you know, could have been better.
We can both agree that one of the greatest trilogies was Batman Dark Knight. So
and it was ahead of its time.
Beautifully ahead of its time. I mean, now we have the Joker of TikTok. Now he's like, people like, like the Joker wasn't that crazy. He just wanted the world to burn. That's wild.
Oh man.
This guy though that was at this level 4, he'd been in for 25 years, and I was just getting started and delving into getting my real estate license. So I kind of had the entrepreneurial bug, and I asked him, "What brought you in here?" And he was just shooting around, and he said, "Oh, I was a drug kingpin." I was like, "Oh, tell me about it." As I normally did, which obviously I wasn't really supposed to, but regardless. They also had an Xbox that they snuck in, and I played FIFA with them once. That was fun. Beat their ass. That's a fun. No, I told them they could keep playing too if they beat me, and then I won, and they shut it off. Level 4 is different. It's not like they snuffed the Xbox
I
in.
can see why that like you left, and they're like, "Oh, thank God."
Probably the inmates and the correctional facility. But this guy he said he had over 100 people working in his infrastructure, top down, from suppliers, dealers, who were making sure that all the logistics were handled. It was a full-fledged business.
Yeah, General Electric over here.
Yeah. In the early 80s, coming out of the 70s, selling a black market item. Here I am trying to learn how to sell a home publicly online, and you were selling things you weren't even allowed to market.
Right.
And comes right to that. I'm like, I see a lot of what I'm initially starting to look at in the framework of a business that just kind of started off on a different, I don't want to start a different decision. Maybe just they had a different position in life, a different foundation than I had. And so now they're going after something that was attainable for them, but still, I mean, as crazy as it may say, still is kind of as admirable.
Yeah.
So smart people that exist in there was probably the biggest shift for me, because I was raised in like a Republican household. We didn't talk a lot about the big social issues of the world, and going from prison in Afghanistan for sure shifted my mindset a little bit about how other people are being treated. It didn't dawn on me as heavily as maybe it does in the last 3-4 years, but it's definitely a good perspective to look back on.
What in Afghanistan? Because you said, besides they would just bomb you on schedule and they were cool with it. What was really like
how cool the Afghanis were?
Yeah.
How cool the Afghanis were. We had this one fob. I don't know if I can say the name because I don't know if it still exists. Where it was a small little area in the midst of a bunch of different hills. We were almost in like a bunker base, and it only was accessible by 2 helicopter pads. And I was there for the tech. There was a CIA section of this. We don't actually know who was there. We think that there were also like high-level SEALs and stuff because they come in they're Blackhawks and not talk to us and go straight in. But when we were there, I met a group of 3 Afghanis who worked on what was called a blue-green sector of our fob. So it was their military working with our military. And we just played ping pong all the time together.
Cool guys.
Cool and cool guys. Could they have wanted to secretly cut my neck open? Maybe. But they're really good at ping pong. Yeah. And we seemingly actually connected on a lot of different things. They had a lot of questions about America. I had a lot of questions about Afghanistan. It's like, we kind of both learned, through months that you were kind of fed propaganda about each other a little bit. So that was kind of a little bit of an eye opener. The guy that's making my sub, does he want this war going on? He's just sitting here making a sub sandwich. Yeah. So seeing that, of course, there were people there that wanted us dead because we were getting bombed all the time.
Right.
But there was also a subset of people that probably wanted nothing to do with this and wanted to make food.
There's probably an understanding among a lot of people that were there. I don't know if I've ever asked any of the guys there about this. It's interesting. But, where some of the people on the ground there, not all of them, like you said, some may hate you, some may love you, but, some of the people on the ground there know that you're there and you didn't decide to be there and a bunch of people in suits decided for you to be there. And when you're just chilling, playing ping pong, eating food or whatever, they're like, you know what? If we'd grown up next to each other, we wouldn't think that much different.
Now, I will say the guy that played a prank on me when he was cutting my hair with a straight razor.
Oh, no.
Not fun.
That wasn't good.
Not fun.
Yeah.
I had been going there for a good month. Middle of my haircut, he starts going for the straight razor, right? He starts cutting me up. In the middle of us in mid-conversation, he just goes full Afghani speak, which Pashto was I believe the language.
Oh, no.
To his boy over there. And then they both started looking at me and they could see my face shift and they were like, no. He was
They hit you with the Allahu Akbar or something?
Listen, I don't even know what they were saying, but I was like, this is it.
Yeah,
this is it. This is the straight blaze going to happen and I'm it.
It's over.
Yeah, but that was probably the scariest moment. It was actually a lot of fun.
But the rest of it was fun.
Yeah, I got to work with a lot of Ukrainian soldiers. They just love to drink and party. Soldiers. I was at one spot where there was only about like 10 American soldiers. The rest were Polish.
And I do too. We forget how many different countries just had little units in that place all the time with us supporting the effort.
Almost all the European countries, Australia, they were all there.
What did the Ukrainians think of the Donbass at the time?
Who? Donald Trump?
No.
Who's Donbass?
What the fuck?
I was like, he wasn't even a thought in 2013.
What's it called? The Ness and I never remember how to say them. The Donbass region, the thing they fight over in this war, where Putin's like, that's ours, and the Ukrainians are like, that's ours, and then the people that live there are like, well, it's kind of theirs, and then they're like, no, it's ours.
We'd have a thrilling podcast if I was there today, but at the time, I had no clue. Yeah,
you were there, right when this was popping off, almost.
Sure. Yep.
And you weren't paying attention.
Not at all. I thought I was there for serving America. I didn't even know I was serving Israel. I was there. I had no clue. Poppy Fields and Bibi Netanyahu were signing my paycheck.
Oh, did you get to take some party favors from the Poppy Fields?
No, I never actually saw a Poppy Field.
Oh, you never saw one?
No.
You just heard about it.
I saw the hill that Mark Wahlberg and Lone Survivor survived on. That was kind of cool.
That is cool. Yeah, I had the guy who was one of the dudes rescuing Latrell in the
chair
a few weeks ago.
Okay. So you've already had someone who's a lot closer to the situation.
Yeah, he was up
You're saying I saw it.
Where were you?
I bled there.
You know what he did a month later?
What?
He killed Bin Laden.
No way. That's the same guy?
Yeah, same guy. It was like a year later or something.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. That's like a whole thing on the internet now.
He's retired now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he is retired.
Do people think weirdly of him that he was involved in so many high-level ops?
Dude, that whole thing is one of the most toxic online conversations there is about people bitching about whether, who killed Bin Laden or whatever.
Right.
I really like Rob, and I'll tell you this, I 100% believe that Rob fully believes that he fired the killing shots into Bin Laden. But the fact of the matter is, to quote Rob, there's him and then the one unnamed guy who's never come out publicly, the team leader at the top. Those are the two guys who know what happened in there. And I was saying this to him the other day on the phone. I was like, you know what's crazy? This is like the greatest special op mission of all time ever pulled off. Who the cares? Why do people fight over this so much? But it's just how it is, because his name ended up being pulled public and all that, and then obviously he went public after that.
Explain why they threw him off the ship.
The body?
Yeah.
We did talk to him about that, right? Right, Deep? They didn't have any say in that matter. That wasn't like their part of the mission. They brought the body back. They handed it off. Whatever happened there later. I think, the thought was they didn't want to create like a shrine for him, meaning like if he was buried somewhere, people would eventually figure out where it was and it'd become this like shrine for people who were anti-America or were like pro-Bin Laden. But in the process, I think what they did is they just creaked the door open for the conspiracy theory.
Right. Haven't we walked through this enough to know if we can't see the body, we're going to have questions.
Right. And I understand that like people now don't blame them at all with all the lies and we've been fed for so long, of which you and I are going to talk about plenty of these today. It's so easy to just be like, therefore, everything ever isn't true. Yeah. And it's fun, too. It's a lot of fun to say that. I will say I fully believe they killed Bin Laden. I do. Maybe part of that is like I was sitting here with a guy who was on it. Yeah. But I do think they killed him.
Yeah, I think they killed him too. I wonder about what his actual position in all of it was.
Yeah, I mean, at that point especially, he's a tired old man living behind a 11-foot wall who just to get some information from the outside, a courier has to go through all these different places just to backdoor it to him with a letter, So it's like, I don't really know what kind of power he had at that time other than symbolism.
I think the main conspiracy is it connects back to Bush, because Bush's family and Saddam's parents were connected through oil.
Ooh,
yeah,
let's talk
the
about
original
this.
Bush. I don't know.
Is that on your chart?
It is not. 9/11 is not on my chart.
It's not on your
It is
chart.
not, I know. Why is 9/11 not on my chart?
Can we pull this fucking chart up, Dave? So
9/11 is not on my chart.
It's the most autistic thing I've looked at this week.
Hell yeah, dog. It's the best compliment I've gotten all week.
All right. So we got 5 cells right here. What do they stand for? The spheres of corruption, but what are
These are the spheres of corruption. This is just the culmination of a lot of frustrated content yelling in my car, wanting to be in one place.
That's right.
So that green cell right there, that's banks, private equity, Wall Street, all the finance stuff.
Can we zoom in on that real quick, Dee?
Sure.
So people can just see, like, you just connected all of it. And you
See,
got
why are you
names
laughing
on-
over there? You're laughing
got-
over there. Like,
Amanda
you see something funny? This is American history. What are you laughing?
Mozart right there? Is he in this?
I think that's John Adams, actually.
Wow, it looks like
Alexander Hamilton. My apologies.
Oh, I know why he's in there.
Alexander Hamilton.
Gotcha. Yeah, look at this.
Yeah, why does the founder of the First Central Bank get a big Broadway show? Why do we do that? Epstein's going to have a show here in at least 5 years. Calling it right now. Calling it. Epstein on Broadway.
No, this is pretty cool. We're going to come back to this later for sure because that's going to tie in some things. But that's banks. What are the other 4?
Yeah, that's banks. So like at the top of it's like Rothschild, and then it gets in like U.S. history of banking. This is government.
Love it.
So we have things like the Freedom Cities, Honduras Gate.
Does that say Greenland?
Greenland.
God bless America.
PayPal Mafia, Ron Lauder. I don't know if you know Howard Lutnick.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Okay.
I've heard of him. I think he's heard of me too. He's probably heard of you.
I hope not, based off our prior conversation. I sure hope not.
That's going to have to stay an inside joke.
Yes.
Okay, but he's got his own line here?
Yeah. Howard's, scroll up real quick. That's Ron Lauder.
We didn't have the mics rolling.
And then there's Ron Lauder with Howard, or scroll down. There's Howard and Ron Lauder in that picture down at the bottom right, in the right-hand corner right now.
Okay. Yeah. I see that.
Yeah. And then
Estee Lauder fortune.
Yeah. So I try in this to try to make as many
look at that
storytelling connections as we can. Like if you kept scrolling to the right here, it's more on 9/11, how that played out, where he was, how he profited off of American Airlines, the fact that school shouldn't have been in at that time.
He profited off American Airlines after that.
Yes. Bottom right, far farthest right with his bald head and the 2 highlighted sections.
Yeah, I'm always down for a tangent on Howie.
So zoom in right there. So it says Lutnick took anywhere from 15 to 25 million of the total $135 million payout from American Airlines. He pocketed it. It was actually
right. No, I know about that. So that was for the Victims Fund for Cannon Fitzgerald that they paid directly into.
Correct.
That's kind of funny that he did that.
Yeah, it was confirmed by his own board.
That's a little funky right there.
It was any money being taken out for his personal name, like any.
It's insane.
A billionaire.
It's insane.
Taking money from the victims of one of the worst American tragedies ever.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to just, we're supposed to look at that and be like, that's okay. And if that was the only thing, maybe that would be the case. Okay, he's just a greedy SOB. But you and I both know there's so much that lines up in this guy. I wanted to have a place where we can put all of the information, not just on him, on a bunch of different people. Epstein, Bibi Netanyahu, like Peter Thiel, the whole deal.
Love it.
Because we got to put it in one place because I feel we're so divided, bro. Yeah. I feel there's a lot of people that are like kind of politically activated, and like I have a buddy of mine who just recently got into sports. It's been fun. He's really enjoyed the World Cup.
He just recently got into sports.
Just recently got into sports. Wasn't a big sports head growing up. Wasn't a big sports head, but just like started watching. Yeah.
Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you get into sports, right? And you start talking with people that talk sports. One of the first things as a baby virgin sports watcher, they're gonna be like, "So who's your team? Who's your team? I got to know if I can like you or not."
Who's your team?
Yeah. What sport?
I don't like the answer to that already.
What sport? With soccer, football? Football 49ers. I was a 49ers fan to my dad. He was a Joe Montana fan.
He was from San Francisco?
He was actually from Arkansas. So Arkansas and Delaware both not having sports teams. Okay. We were free agents.
All right. Actually, I'll accept Arkansas.
We were free
Delaware
agents.
I won't accept, but Arkansas I'll accept.
Give my dad some love out of the depths of Helena, Arkansas.
I'll accept it.
But I think politics is kind of the same thing. You start getting involved in caring about maybe what's going on in society one way or the next. And the first question people ask you, well, what team are you a part of? I got to know if I can like you or hate you. I think that's pretty fucking stupid, this tribalism of politics. And as somebody who feels like the newbie, because I wasn't a political guy, everyone's yelling like, you got to be this team, you got to be that team. Like, can we talk about housing and healthcare?
That's the trap.
Yeah. Can we talk about things that economically stimulate the next generation and excite them toward being a valuable piece of this society, a valuable piece of this capitalist economy? A free market is determined by the people's motivation in mass to want to grow themselves. So in tune, it's going to grow the economy. And we're not creating jobs. We're not creating opportunity. We're not creating higher education, or at least making it more accessible. We're only making it less accessible. And that higher education now not even leading to jobs.
100%.
So where's the, like you said at the beginning, like where's the light at the end of the tunnel economically? I don't fucking know. That's why I started just putting together this corruption map.
Well, listen, it got here, but it started with a very simple question.
Yeah.
You know, it started with all right, how can we live the American dream the way it was supposed to be lined up, for lack of a better way of putting it?
The first question I asked when I put my pen down was,
when you put your pen down, you apparently never put this fucking thing down.
Take it.
This is like Heath Ledger's Joker diary. Let's hope you're not taking Ambien at night. Fuck. It's got like drawings in here. Look at that.
Don't read too deep.
Was that you or your daughter?
That was my daughter right there. Might have been me. It depends on the night. How much Ambien, like you said.
That's you.
Yeah.
Anyway, does that say 6 AD?
No, probably
4 BC to 6 AD.
Oh, well, maybe.
All right.
Maybe.
The rabbit hole goes deep. All right.
But the first question was, why can't my boys buy homes? I made a living off social media selling homes to degenerates.
Degenerates.
Why
degenerates?
Oh, because anybody could buy a house. If you had I could advise people to simply get their credit score above 620, have a full-time job of any kind, really. You needed to make like 36 grand a year, as long as you didn't have a lot of debt.
This wasn't before 2008?
Oh, no, this was 2017, 2018.
This is not reassuring.
This is real. This is very
short the fucking housing market.
On one of the links right now you could pull up housing affordability, and we can see it plain as day. The annual income now required to buy a home is over $100,000. Then it was, if you have a full-time job, you're not driving a fully financed Mustang, and you've made some payments and kept your credit score up, I can probably get you into a house. And I loved that because I was able to take people who did not have a college degree, that were serving the military and got out like I did, and get them started in asset accumulation. Because I learned very early on, we are in a debt-based society. Inflation has to persist, and inflation is going to cause assets to go up. So if I can get you into a home, you get some dirt, you got a mortgage payment you can afford, you're going to start growing in your net worth. And I know a lot of the people I sold to back in 2018 are like, hell yeah, I got a house. Sweet. Yeah. But now it's not the same at all.
Did you think about that back then? You just said something interesting there. You're like, we're in a debt-based society because inflation has to exist. When you're at the beginning of your career doing this, 23, 24, out of the military now, working as a real estate agent, did you think about what you said out loud there and the fact that, that kind of actually doesn't make sense, why the system's set up that way?
Not that it didn't make sense and not immediately. It was like 3-4 years in. Yeah. I'd say about 2019-ish. Just because I got curious about the history of it. You know, the housing market really doesn't go in waves, because I'd hear that a lot. Like, the housing market goes in waves, ups and downs. It really doesn't. It goes up. The only 2 times it hasn't is 2008 and 1929. It's the only 2 times we've ever had a crash.
Right.
And both had an abominable just recourse for the working class. The elites and wealthy kept buying everything up when all the prices went down. Yep. The unemployment rate in the Great Depression was like 25%. Like, nothing was good for the working class. They were wearing barrels and trading in seashells. And then the elites were buying everything up. And then you look at 2008, when families were getting foreclosures, banks were getting bailed out. You see the same thing just in modern day. So there hasn't really been a correction or crash, especially one that gave opportunity for the next generation. So I do see people that will speculate and say, oh, the housing market's going to crash. Okay, like, what if it does? Is it going to benefit us? What could cause that? Is it going to be 10, 15, 20% unemployment? That's not good.
No.
Is it because AI took all the jobs? That's not good. There's not a lot of lights at the end of the tunnel that I see in housing. That's why I kept yelling, we need to get you into an asset, because this probably isn't going to crash. And if it does, you're going to be really happy you have this.
But I'm going to round numbers right now because I don't have them in front of me. So just use these as an example. How do you, when you see them all out of whack though, how do you say that to people when you see incomes going up? I'm just making up numbers, say an average of 10% while expenses are going up an average of 40% every year. And then that trickles up into the houses as well, where you also have the largest generation in American history holding on to these things till
Boomers,
they die.
yeah.
And they're just going to retirement now.
Yeah. Boomers
know?
Holding, investors buying up any affordable house that hits the market. They're buying up whole communities.
Yeah.
And it's not just Blackstone and these private equity firms. It's also normal mom and pops, people that want 10 Airbnbs. It's a huge problem. That's why I got out of just like making TikToks to sell homes, because it no longer became a do these 5 steps and you'll own a home.
You're like, then there's 10 more, buddy.
Yeah. It's like I got to climb the 6-foot ladder to get over the 10-foot wall. And I got over the 10-foot wall. And I was like, yay, now I get to teach other people how to get over the 10-foot wall. And then slowly but surely it was 30 feet.
Yeah.
And now I tell people—
same ladder.
And I tell people it's 30 feet and they're like, they need to fucking work hard. I'm like, you dick. I watched the ladder not get bigger and the wall has extended.
I should have brought John in for this podcast, Joe.
The wall is not— the wall is so insurmountable, and they'll hand you the same advice. They'll tell you to work harder. They'll say, put money aside, pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
That's right.
But it used to be a job allowed you to survive. And if you wanted to work harder and thrive, that was your choice.
Yeah.
If you want to run towards something, like, Julie, I had the opportunity to wake up and go after something.
Yes.
Right? When I got my real estate license, it was the first thing, honestly, I was ever good at. I was never really good. I was a fuck up pretty much my whole life. This was the first thing I was really good at. And it excited me. Why
did it excite you? Because you got to help people get dirt and like, I mean that in a good way, like get an asset and change their lives.
I think it was it was somewhere between half of that and half selfish. It was the other side of, I felt like I had some control, some dominion over my life. I knew it was going to require more hours. I knew it was going to require more of me, but something about the future dividend of what I'm going to receive is actually based off what I put into it, rather than if I was at a fixed income job, it really it didn't matter. Like when I was in the military, they even made fun of people who strove harder for promotion as like tryhards.
Right.
When it's like, and then I could be a slack off, this person be a tryhard. If we're the same rank, we make the same money.
Yeah.
I hated that. And I get that's how that system works. So this part, I had that freedom about it. But then it started bleeding into other parts of my life, fitness, how I was eating, how I was communicating. And then it drove real estate deals in slowly but surely. But it did start with, I see an opportunity for people to not struggle as heavily. Let me get you out of rental, start building an asset, start getting a net worth. And that usually does lead to more, how could I say, like, the house is like the birthplace of wealth. The sale of a home is a lot of times somebody's first nest egg of money. And now people can't get into it. So I struggle with seeing again the light at the end of the tunnel today, where at the beginning I saw nothing but light.
Why though? You'll own nothing and be happy.
Isn't that great?
Didn't they tell us that?
Isn't that great?
I felt like that
Thanks,
closed the deal for me.
WEF. Thanks, Larry
Right?
Fink. Lawrence D. Fink.
Yeah, we'll talk about him.
Sure. Absolutely.
But you were doing this for years, and so when did you start? 2016 in real estate?
Yeah. No. January 2017,
Either
right
way,
at the beginning.
it's almost same difference. Meaning, like, you got to see the last of the what I'll call the roaring tens, right? Where things were coming back, but not for everybody, right? Where the system was already teetering. And then COVID happens, and it was the weirdest simultaneous like explosion in the sense that the housing market went off like crazy.
Yes.
People who already had wealth ended up profiting off it tremendously with the whip-em-a-roll. A lot of other people lost their jobs or lost their level of job forever in some cases. And then the housing market and the ability to own the asset went completely away or out of the potential range for many people coming up, be that, young millennials and now Gen Z and stuff, to the point that I've seen you pull up some charts where it's like the average age of the first-time homeowners trending towards going to be 40 years old.
Already is right now. Median age is 40 years old.
It's median right now.
As of 2025, yes.
So meaning you got to watch, if the chart of like problem were, if I'm saying problem is a chart going up like this, you started here where it was going up already heavily post-financial crisis, and then you watch the fucking giant wall form where it goes up like an L.
And I only wish I knew at the time what happened in 2008. To understand
you didn't understand that?
No. To understand the environment we were working in right there of this post could have been seismic crash, could have been flipping of the economy, that we instead siphoned money through people like Henry Paulson, who was the Secretary of the Treasury at the time under Bush, and of course the Federal Reserve. We congressionally and through the private central bank printed trillions of dollars. Quantitative easing was the way the Federal Reserve did it, and that was the first time we'd ever done that. People didn't realize, and neither did I, that was invented right then and there.
Yes.
And then we did it again in COVID. And when we did it again in COVID, that's what forced me to go back into the history. It's like, why have we resorted back to this?
So you went back and looked at it.
Yes.
Would you, to get into the history, like what books did you read, or do you remember where that started?
The first one I read was probably The Monetary History of the United States. It was a Milton Friedman book.
Oh, yeah.
And that opened my eyes to the Federal Reserve, which I was already curious on because I'd learned at a real estate happy hour that the Fed, it was like in 2022. Yeah. Oh, dude, one of the funnest environments on the planet, a real estate happy hour. I'm the worst at, I'm the worst at those. I'm so bad.
You at a happy hour are bad. I don't believe you.
No, I don't want to be there.
I think you're the unpaid entertainment.
I don't want to be. No, because everyone there wants something, right? Everyone wants something. Everyone's got like commission breath. And
commission breath.
I hate it. I hate it.
God.
But so I would get there and I would just kind of find my own, because I'm a team leader at the time. So I like had to show face some of these.
Big swinging dick.
No, he was there. I remember he was there. He didn't do anything memorable, but yeah, he was there.
Okay. Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge help. Thank you.
I just found like the biggest little social circle, fit myself into it. And they were talking about rates at the time. That was controversial. And they talked about the Fed. Someone said, "Oh yeah, the Federal Reserve's not a government entity." And I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, "Yeah, it is. It's got the word federal right in it." And then I looked it up. And I was like, "Oh, it's not." And about a month of research led me in like, yeah, let me get a book or two.
Can you explain that to people? Like why that is and what you mean when you say it's not? Because like you said, it's in the name. Good marketing, by the way.
Yeah, it's got the word federal and reserve, but the fact of the matter, it's a private entity that doesn't force any reserves. So it's a terribly named entity. It's atrocious. I don't know if we can look it up because I don't even know what we'd look up. But in March 2020, because of COVID, do you know what the reserve? Okay, so quick quiz. Before COVID, do you want to guess how much the Federal Reserve required banks to hold? Like, what's the reserve? It was called the reserve requirement.
Oh, I had to learn this back in the day.
Yeah, so basically each bank that orchestrates in the financial institution that is our central banking they have to hold a certain amount with the Federal Reserve just to
Yes.
basically make sure we have a safety net of liquidity.
It's like forcing them to have skin in the game.
Yes.
In a way.
Yes.
I don't remember what the amount was for the life of me.
5%.
5%.
5%. COVID.
5% of what for people?
5% of total assets under their management. It's my understanding. Like the actual capital, cash.
So if I have $1 billion sitting in my bank, like as the actual bank, then
Yes,
I'm giving
physical
them
money.
$50 million.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
As of March 2020 was reduced to 0.
To 0.
Yeah, a nice safe number of 0.
Well, you know what? Listen. At the end of the day, when you have a fire sale, you just everything's gotta go, right?
back to your-
you did a garage sale last week.
Hell yeah.
Everything's gotta go.
Cleared the spot out.
That's right. Listen, this is like 6 months after the late great J.E. died. So
Yeah, let it all. Just like the
let it
Joker,
all
he
go.
just wants to see the world burn. Just fucking make it 0.
burns.
Let's do it.
everything burns.
So it's not federal. It doesn't hold reserves, and it started in 1910 over a 1907 bank panic after J.P. Morgan bailed out the entire country, led to a bunch of billionaires meeting on an island, or millionaires at the time meeting at an island for 10 days, Jekyll Island.
Oh yeah, in 1913.
1910 actually. And Nelson Aldrich, a senator at the time, was the one who took down all the notes. This was a meeting
That's nice of him.
Yeah, super nice. Super nice of a senator to take down all the notes and then took the notes and said to Congress, "This is my plan." And presented it as his. It was called.
Well, that's what you have to do.
He does. And he made sure of it too, because you know what he called it? Called it the Nelson Aldrich Plan.
That's right.
He just
He
made
came up
very,
with him himself.
very sure that he got credit for this.
Human nature never changes, including the people who are aspiring to political office.
Yes, sir.
Do someone else's work, take credit for it.
Amen. Yeah. And then when he officially presented it, I believe in 1912, they launched a committee called the Pujo Committee to basically Pujo, Pujo. And the Pujo Committee was launched to investigate whether all these bank leaders were operating in a money trust and whether or not all of these things that were being passed and all these bank leaders that were seemingly bailing out our country at a whim's notice, was there something operating behind the scene? Do they own too much? And they found that about somewhere like 26% of the nation's assets were held with about 4 different corporations. So they determined
Which were those corporations?
it was J.P. Morgan,
Carnegie, right? One of them.
Standard Oil.
Vanderbilt.
I don't know. We should look that up.
Yeah, let's look it up.
We should
Standard
look that
Oil and
up.
JP had
Yeah,
to
the
be
ones,
too.
because the Pujo Committee has a full
So, Deef, who were the four
corps and
corporations
concentration
holding
statistics.
20%?
Yeah, just ask who those 4 corps are right there. And it was 26%, not 28%. Sorry.
Yeah, the Pujo Committee.
I believe it was 180 individual people and then 4 corporations that they found that about a quarter of the nation's wealth was held with.
That's healthy. That's what you want the foundation of a country.
It's a lot like wwhat's going on today. So yeah, I'd say super healthy.
What's going on today? I think it's proof that it's always been this way quietly. But yeah, so 42.9% of America's total banking resources held by its 20 largest banks. Furthermore, it found that 180 individuals covering 341 directorships and 112 corporations possessed $22.245 billion in aggregate resources to capitalization. Finally, it concluded a system known as banking ethics restricted competition among banks and firms. So Chase, these men, their resources is 7 banks
right
and
there.
trust companies. Astor Trust Company, I think that guy was killed in the Titanic, right? National Bank of Commerce, Liberty National Bank, Chase National Bank, Farmers Loan and Trust Company controlled an estimated $2.1 billion.
And it says led by J.P.
Okay.
Morgan, George F. Baker, and James Stillman.
Right.
The whole point of this, though, and you'll see the one name in here that actually, if you wanted to stretch a nice bit of yarn, Samuel Untermeyer and the Rothschilds aren't far apart because he's
Untermeyer.
Samuel Untermeyer, to my understanding, was a close relationship with Loeb and Co. And Loeb and Co. back then was Rothschild. That was the Rothschild arm between them.
How was it their arm? Like what did they do?
Loeb and Co. I'm not gonna act like I know specifics on what they do. Actually, we should look up specifics on what
let's
they
do
do.
that while we're here. When in Rome, you know. All right, Loeb and Co.
Yeah, like I
You
said,
saw
you gotta. It's
Google AI.
Loeb, Loeb.
Oh, I was going to yell at Google AI. That would have been more fun. All right, so LF Rothschild
Yeah,
and
it's
Co.
a long piece of yarn from those two.
Let's see. The connection between Loeb and Rothschild, they typically mean one of 2 distinct historic American investment banks that were formed by overlapping groups or partnerships. LF Rothschild and Co. and Kuhn, Loeb and Co. Which, by the way, quick tangent before I read this. Your fucking Rothschild social media video is one of the greatest fucking things I've ever seen.
Thanks,
where you're
dude.
just talking to yourself in your car for 10 minutes.
Like a
about the
schizophrenic,
history.
yes.
Yeah, I need someone to take like a man on the street video of you making that video, like in the background, like when they take a picture like a TikToker doing the dance.
No, I
but
need
you're
that
talking
not to
them
ever
words.
happen. And if
Anyway.
it happens, I'll know who did it.
I'm going to do it. All right. LF Rothschild & Co. founded in 1899 by Louis F. Rothschild. This brokerage firm originated when Rothschild went into business with Leonard Hochstader, who had previously worked at the firm, here it is, Albert Loeb & Co. Despite the prominent name, Louis F. Rothschild had no familial ties to European Rothschild dynasty. That's interesting.
So who's LF? I haven't even heard LF Rothschild.
Kuhn, Loeb & Co., founded in 1967 by Abraham Kuhn and Solomon Loeb. The firm became one of Wall Street's most powerful investment banks in the 19th and early 20th century. The European Rothschild family frequently shared financial power, co-underwrote massive railroad expansions, and worked closely with Kuhn, Loeb & Co.'s prominent leader, Jacob Schiff. So it comes in on the back end. What's interesting here is there was a documentary series. I think they've expanded upon it with different eras now, but back in, I want to say 2014, 2015, this series came out called The Men Who Built America. Did you ever see that?
No.
So it basically covers the Industrial Revolution, guys. It's like, I want to say it was 5 episodes. One episode was Vanderbilt. The next episode was Carnegie. Another episode was JP Morgan. Another one was Ford. And then I want to say another one
Rockefeller,
was
maybe?
Edison.
Edison.
Oh, no. Rockefeller was number 2.
Edison
That's right.
would be the one.
No. Hold the
If
thought.
you had those 4 to start and the last episode was Edison, I
Yeah.
would honestly be locked. I'm like, okay, how's this guy?
Yeah, Edison came into it. He came into
Really?
it through JP Morgan. That's what it was. Because what it would do is it would overlap all these guys. So the episode would be on Vanderbilt, and then the next episode would be on Rockefeller, but then Vanderbilt would have meetings with Rockefeller because they historically happened, and like it would introduce characters in a way. And it was an amazing series. It was also like inspirational if you're like a young kid in college like me trying to figure out what to do with his life, and you're like, wow, these guys really figured it all out. And then you realize that it was also the greatest capture in one shot of like one era at the time of wealth that had ever happened, to the point that it created dynasties across what was the top, call it 3 to 5 major industries that ended up building everything that came in America. That's why it's called The Men Who Built America. And that those types of corrupt institutions that could have been formed by such a powerful few persist today. And I didn't figure that out till later, and then I was like, fuck.
So you watched that before having that realization?
Oh, yeah. I was in college. I was like smoking weed and watching, like, wow, this is cool.
This Rockefeller dude rocks.
Yeah, that's fun. Like, I remember me and my buddy Meat would just like watch that when we were hungover.
You see your buddy Meat?
Yeah.
Meat?
Yeah, no, Meat's different.
Like ground
bro.
beef?
Yeah, like ground beef. So
Sick.
my friends in college, they were all O linemen and D linemen. And
That
my
makes
one
sense.
friend Dylan, the first day of camp, freshman year, saw Dan, our buddy, and he goes, "You look like a big piece of fucking meat. I'll call you Meat." I don't know. It was a huge pause at the time. But the reason was Meat was about 6 foot, 5'11", 285. He squatted 750 pounds with dip in his mouth and a cigarette hanging out the other. He was the one that wasn't like all of us. He was like a fucking redneck from Maryland. And the most athletic white individual I've ever seen in my fucking life. Like, could do like pound for pound the strongest dude I've ever seen in my life. But funny motherfucker. But yeah, we called him Meat, and to this day he's just fucking Meat.
Huh.
Yeah.
I should have put more respect on his name. He
Yeah,
sounds like he hurt
actually,
me.
there's a Deadspin article, Dave. Can you type in Bucknell football team funniest pictures? So summer before senior year, he's been playing D-line and O-line for 3 years. And 4 weeks before camp, they call him up and they say, "Meat, can you play fullback? We need you to go down from 285 to 260 in 3 weeks." He does it. And then if we go, there he is, Daniel McManus. So it was like he was a 6 foot, 260 pound fullback, the greatest fullback I've ever seen in my life, by the way. And the comments on this shit were just like, a 6 foot, 260 pound fullback. What the fuck are they feeding these kids out there? And he ran like a fucking 4.6 40. It was insane.
What?
Dude, after college, he came to live with me up in North Jersey, and we took him into the gym, which was like this powerlifting and boxing gym, and he was way out of shape. He was maybe like 305 at the time. He box jumped 49 inches the first day. And the fucking guy
That's
who runs
not
the gym
human.
was, dude, he's not human. I've never seen anything like
Watching
it in my life.
big individuals act mad athletic is the most impressive thing.
It's
to me.
unbelievable. And he would get like he's the kind of guy that would come in and just like fucking, clean weight that you shouldn't be doing right away, like out of form, and just throw it down and like look at people and yell at him. Like he's one of those.
Hell yeah.
He's one of those.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah,
I
so
like
we were sitting there. We would watch this. This would be like our hangover watch on like Saturday morning before we'd like take like inordinate amount of pre-workout to go work out and then go out and do it all over again. But we were like, wow, this shit's awesome.
These leaders of industry. We could be like them one day. If we work hard enough, we could be like them one day.
And now he's building like off the reservation, like self-sufficient housing for himself and shit. Runs
That's
his own
what it's
business.
about. See, if we all got
That's right.
there, started doing little friend
Yeah.
communities, started gardening with each other. This person does the contracting.
That's right.
Here's our plumber. I want that.
That's right. Almost like a kibbutz. And they kind of figured that out, right?
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, they got that
A little
part
bit.
right. But anyway, how we get on that tangent with with Loeb and Rothschild? Oh, you were talking about 1913.
1913.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that created the central bank that still orchestrates our monetary policy today. Milton Friedman, in that book I mentioned earlier, Monetary or History of the United States, would say the Federal Reserve was one of the main reasons the Great Depression happened.
Now, what was his logic there? I think
His
that's
logic
fair to say.
was they're put in place to be able to create money when needed as a bank of last resort.
Yes.
And a humongous bank in New York, I believe the largest at the time, fell, and they could have saved it. And they could have saved the multitude of hundreds of banks that fell then afterwards. It was also this thing where it was kind of, and this is another thing that's alluded to in a book called 1929, a really good book.
Is that Andrew Ross Sorkin?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a really
Actually,
good book.
can we make a note of that? I want to get Andrew in here, 100%.
Really good book.
Yeah.
Send them my thanks.
Yeah, he wrote the Too Big to Fail too.
Yes.
In like
This was
2
a
months.
1929. This was a second book, I believe, or a second big one because
Mm-hmm.
The Federal Reserve Bank kind of had this little bit of an ego battle with the speculators of Wall Street too, that they both argue in their books may have just kind of misguided them a bit in trying to be the boss of the financial world, when in reality they're there to serve the greater populace and make sure that our economy can continue to thrive. And we saw that the speculation inevitably led to the Great Depression, but then that the Federal Reserve could have minimized or even alleviated the Great Depression from happening was Milton Friedman's argument. People will say,
Why didn't they? What did Milton say?
Milton in the book doesn't allude to a motive, to my understanding, or at least I didn't glean one when I read it. Maybe people will have their takes of like he leaned one way or the next. I didn't glean a motive that he would pull out of it, because some people will read it and take away like, oh, he said that they absolutely allowed it. I read it as they saw it and kind of just didn't do anything. They didn't take action when they should have taken action. And maybe it was a hindsight thing that they didn't take that action. Maybe it's because this was the first big economic crisis that the Federal Reserve would face. You know, this is the first time we've had a stock market bubble in our country. There was a lot of firsts going on. So a little bit of seed of doubt. But in, I think it was 2003, 2002 or 2003, Ben Bernanke is giving a speech, would go on to be the central bank federal chairman.
During the global financial
During the
crisis.
global financial crisis, yeah. Served with Kevin Warsh, our current guy.
Yeah.
He would speak at Milton Friedman's, I think it was his 95th birthday, just real old. And at the end of his speech, in fact, we could probably pull it up so I don't misquote it.
Ooh, yeah. We have this speech on video.
It's not on video, but we have the full transcript.
Okay.
Ben Bernanke, yep. Look up Ben Bernanke's speech, Milton Friedman birthday.
Okay. He'll get it. But at the end of his speech, what's he alluding to?
He alludes, or he doesn't even allude to, and he says, and Milton, and to you, regarding the Great Depression, you're right. We did it. We're very sorry, but thanks to you, we won't do it again.
That's great. Can I play a
Please.
little devil's advocate?
Please. I love a devil's
Because I
advocate.
don't have the context here.
Yeah,
I want to believe
that's the end of the full speech.
I wanna
It's on the
believe
Federal
he-
Reserve website. You can pull that link up
I
right
want to
there.
believe he fully said that because he's in the middle of a lot of shit. What I'm wondering is if this is like a birthday speech and he's like saying it as a joke to him.
Maybe, and it was 90th birthday. Yeah, it's all the way
Not
at the
that I
bottom.
like giving any of these people the benefit of the doubt at this point. but I
That's
gotta
the
at
full
least do
speech,
that.
yep. And
Okay,
then the
conclusion.
conclusion.
Brilliance. All right, go down.
I think it's the second paragraph in conclusion.
Okay, for practical central bankers, among which I now count myself, Friedman and Schwartz's analysis leaves many lessons. All right, so he's being serious. What I take from their work is that the monetary forces, particularly if unleashed in a destabilizing direction, can be extremely powerful. The best thing that central bankers can do for the world is to avoid such crises by providing the economy with, in Milton Friedman's word, stable monetary background. For example, as reflected in low and stable inflation. Let me end my talk by abusing slightly my status as an official representative of the Federal Reserve. I would like to say to Milton and Anna, regarding the Great Depression, you're right, we did it. We're very sorry. But thanks to you, we won't do it again. Best wishes for the next 90 years. So that could be like telling a joke at the end that's wrapped in a truth, and he's like, yeah, we did do it. Or it could be he's like,
I can see that.
Being funny, like to be there.
I can see being a joke.
The interesting thing about Ben Bernanke, though, now I'm going to be doing a deep dive on him again. I did this years ago, but he actually, a big part of his career was he studied the shit out of the Great Depression and like how all that thing happened. And then ironically, he was at the helm when everything went down. But you wonder if that's like a little wink, wink wrapped in truth there. It could be.
You know,
I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. The conspiracies go wild for 2008 because it was seemingly something that was avoidable. We ripped out Glass-Steagall in 1999 that was keeping banks from being whatever the hell they wanted. Glass-Steagall instituted in 1933 in the Great New Deal, allowed banks to give mortgages, do insurance, be an investment, do it all. And then there was a margin rule change by the SEC in 2004 that allowed these big banks to now invest with a larger amount of margin.
Yeah, I think it's been a while. I think with the Glass-Steagall, what it opened up the door for was being able to do proprietary trading with bank assets that they previously wouldn't have been able to, which they then did at margin across assets they held to go speculate.
And it got riskier and riskier and riskier. Yeah.
And then I think you're right. It expanded beyond that with a couple of the other ones. But when you look at Clinton's presidency, the two of the biggest mistakes he made were the 94 crime bill, which was a bipartisan thing as well as a mistake the whole government made. And Glass-Steagall is the other big one because that opened the door for what became the financial crisis for sure.
Now, I thought you were going to say NAFTA as the second biggest one. Why the crime bill?
You know,
I'm not familiar with that one.
NAFTA...
Because NAFTA, for those that's the Northern American Free Trade Agreement.
That's right.
Allowed jobs to go to Mexico, Canada.
That's right.
Predominantly Mexico.
Which I think on the surface certainly has some disaster written on it. I'm not the guy to make the commentary on that. There's probably people in the comment sections who are well more qualified to do that.
Some were going to bring up like the AT&T communications bill too. That was 95. That was like...
What was that bill?
It was more a bill that allowed for monopolistic tendencies. We can look it up and read the specifics.
That bad boy up.
I know Tiffany Cianci will quote the AT&T communications bill all the time.
AT&T and communications
95.
bill.
It should have been 95, if I'm remembering that one correctly.
All right, we got it. So the Telecommunications Act of 1995 was a sweeping legislative effort that set the stage for modern telecommunications. While introduced and heavily debated throughout the 1995, it ultimately passed and was signed into law in 1996. So, the core goals of the bill, the primary objective of the legislation was to foster competition, reduce government regulation. Key elements included, let's go down, market integration, allowing long-distance carriers like AT&T, local phone companies, and cable operators to compete in each other's markets. Deregulation, removing federal controls on cable TV pricing.
To my understanding, the reason that this was controversial is because AT&T figured out if they could break themselves into 3 different companies but still manage those 3 companies, that they'll bypass the law. It's my understanding of it.
Yeah, if you're looking on September 21st, 1995, AT&T announced it would voluntarily break itself into 3 independent companies: communications/wireless, equipment manufacturing, and computers.
They said we investigated ourselves, and here's what we're going to do.
Hey, Meta, can you tell me how many senators that voted for this bill were donated to by AT&T? Like, holy shit, bro. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's see.
Was AT&T
How many
a
senators
big
who voted
pre-Citizens
for this
United
bill
donator?
were accepted campaign contributions? Accepted campaign contributions at the time from AT&T. All right, let's test Google AI how fast you are. It's thinking.
See how it can.
It's searching.
I don't even know. Did we track lobbying in the 90s?
An exact comprehensive head count linking every individual senator's vote specifically to AT&T campaign contribution is not available in a single public data. But how convenient. It's not available in a single public data repository. However, extensive analysis by campaign finance watchdogs from that era provides deep context on how widespread the funding was. Ubiquitous industry support. During the 1996 election cycle, the telecommunications industry as a whole contributed more than $4.1 million to federal campaigns. Open Secrets records indicate that AT&T was one of the largest corporate PAT spenders of the era.
Nailed it.
Watchdog groups like FAIR highlighted that during a crucial 6-month negotiation window in late 1995, the telecom industry gave $640,000 specifically to the 45 lawmakers serving on the Joint Conference Committee tasked with hammering on the bill's final text. Kind of like Howard Lutnick giving $5 million to the GOP fucking super PAC right before testifying that he lied like a dog.
And got to testify behind closed doors, too.
Well, this was the first
that
one.
Was the first one.
That
was the first one.
Closed doors, but then he just went about his job that he continues to serve the American people out of the goodness of his heart today.
I was so mad to see him at the NBA Finals game.
You know what? I told people, I'm like, first of all, don't give these people what they want. Don't invade his space. Don't touch him physically. Don't do anything that could involve law enforcement coming in there.
Yep.
But practice your First Amendment right, and instead of yelling at fucking Victor Wembanyama, yell at him.
That was the part that he's just sitting there next to, I think it was DJ Khaled texting the whole time. It's like, you don't have to. This guy is the person that makes me double think when it comes to like we should not promote violence. But I'll err with what you're saying.
Yeah, for YouTube purposes, it's just
it's concerning
satire.
to me that and so like my dad, we play this game because he gets the boomer algorithm. And so he'll send me shit he's seeing. And he sent me this Howard Lutnick post the other day. Let me see if I can even pull it up.
I gotta talk to my dad too. I think he's getting that algorithm as well.
Yeah, he's in the sauce. And it's this post about Howard Lutnick and all the money he raised for the 9/11 victims.
Mm-hmm.
And all the comments are just like, wow, what an incredible man. I remember when he did this. Wow. He's so wow. He made it all the way to the White House. Just thousands and thousands of comments. And then you see him at the NBA Finals sitting next to no security, front and center, live right there. This is a man who's committed egregious crimes against the country, and he doesn't even need a bodyguard. That's how little we care.
Yeah.
New York City is ready to light itself on fire over a basketball win, which I'm a huge fan of basketball.
Yeah, me
huge
too.
fan of all sports.
Yeah.
But we're much more willing to go ape shit over a fancy trophy for a team you're not getting paid by.
You know what's funny, man? This is why I crashed out on him so hard when all this stuff broke. He was a guy, and I don't think I ever did this publicly, but I can tell you, like my many phone calls over the years with my buddy Danny Jones, who's got a great show in Florida, and some other people, when Howard Lutnick would come up over the years and in like a suspicious way, like, this guy kind of smells, I would defend him because
look at the
I had known of him to be somewhat of a, sounds crazy to say this now, but somewhat of like a legend in the sense that, yeah, he's definitely like kind of an elitist and a billionaire and all that. But this was a guy who lost 646 people in one day, including his brother Gary, which is a very famous story. His brother really did die in there, which is obviously horrible, who, had built himself up. He lost both his parents, I think, when he was 18, had to basically like at that point take care of his brother Gary. He got some help to be able to go to Haverford College and like actually pay for himself to go through. So he was like orphaned at the first age of legalization when his siblings were not, and had built his whole career, and then everything comes down in a day, and somehow he had saved this company. And so that just general story was always like, wow, guy's kind of a legend on Wall Street. And I ate that up without knowing all the details, some of the things we know now. So that's on me. But when I saw those emails in on January 30th when those came out that took that famous clip from Pod Force 1 last summer where he knew this was like a thing that the files might be coming out, and he went out of his way to concoct this amazing story about how disgusting this individual, like step by step, bar by bar, like a iambic pentameter almost, and then even like when people are lying and they're so scared about lying that they end up saying the very things that they didn't have to lie about that are the actual things they did.
Yeah.
Then he goes, so I didn't associate with this guy for business, philanthropy, or personally. And you go through the emails and you find example after example of business.
Yep.
You find example after philanthropy.
Yep.
You find example of him associating with it personally, drinks with Howard Lutnick in the years after.
We got that email in the corruption
so-called
map.
story.
Yeah.
And when we first were reacting to and going through the early files and like that came up, I just fucking lost it because I'm like, fuck. It made me feel like an idiot, and that's fair.
You felt tricked.
I was, of course, but
tricked.
like it's like fuck these people. How dare the audacity? And then he goes in front of that hearing and he doesn't have the decency to resign, to say nothing of the fact Trump doesn't fucking fire him. He still stands next to him for everything. Since when is Donald Trump loyal to anyone that gives him even like a modicum of bad press? Fucking Scaramucci got 10 days. You know what I mean? And he's a billionaire too, by the way. It's like, you look at that and you go, that's interesting. Now what am I looking at here?
Oh, just the comment section sentiment.
No,
all the
I just accidentally got rid of it, but
all the
I know
No,
what you're
it's
talking
fine.
about. It's like when you see that, and you're supposed to see someone that at least had something, you can be like, well, that's kind of cool, saved his company, whatever, when they all died one day, and then it's like, well, that wasn't exactly what we thought it was either. It makes you very, very more cynical than I was at the top end of the system. And it drives home, by the way, a theme you've been hitting all day that I couldn't agree with you more about, which is that they've been throwing this left-right divide at us since the beginning of fucking time. And especially at this stage in the quote-unquote empire, this is not a left-right thing. This is an up-down thing.
And it never had been. Like, just starting at that 1910 meeting of Jekyll Island, that came from a 1907 bank panic where J.P. Morgan bailed out our entire country.
Can you explain what happened there?
Yeah, we had a famine. There was a famine. This was a big issue all throughout the 1800s. Famines. We had a big locust problem at one point.
Locust problem. That's biblical.
I think it was like the 1870s. There was like a big locust problem. We were an agriculture
economy.
economy.
Glyphosate for him?
No, I don't think they had any glyphosate for
Nah,
them.
they didn't have
No glyphosate.
back then. It wasn't working. That was before the CIA killed my father.
My brother does a really good RFK. That's up there with it. They were an agricultural economy, and we were also a state bank economy because we did not have a federal bank. We did not have a central bank. So the rule was, if like you operate in New Jersey, you bank in New Jersey. You operate with a bank out of New Jersey. There was no crossing state lines. And so
you can't cross state lines.
Nope.
You just got to pack the money and cash in a suitcase.
So imagine when all of Idaho, making up a state, I don't know which state actually was hit the hard. All state of Idaho gets hit by a famine and locusts. What happens to all these loans, all this credit that's been put out by these farmers in an agriculture economy? They don't pay them.
Right.
They don't have crop. And so we had these crises that would happen a lot since once the Civil War would close out. It seems like when the Civil War closed out, we were going through a lot of economic, like how do we shake through this? And then it was 1896 that we go through one of our largest crises on record. There's articles you can find at the time saying we might go insolvent. We might go bankrupt as a country. And J.P. Morgan steps up there. And then again, 10 years later, 1907, steps up again. So you're watching private bailouts of our entire country. Our entire country is hanging by its balls. And one dude can save it. This was the same dude that also funded basically the entirety of World War I as he was leaving life and leaving it to his son, Jack. This is a financial titan that doesn't get talked about enough. I know I'll talk about the Rothschilds day and night, Rockefellers. JP does not get talked about enough. And you walked from 1913, then you get into FDR's New Deal, then you get to the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944. We try to globalize the dollar. A couple decades past, we've lied about
what happened with the globalizing the dollar in 44?
Bretton Woods Agreement was basically we saw World War II was waning. The economic situation of Europe, not good. They were in heavy debt, infrastructure blown to pieces in a lot of areas. And so we had to restructure the world economy. America stepped in and said, we're going to be the world reserve currency. I believe there was like 120 something diplomats from across the country there. Stepped in and said, we're going to tie our dollar to gold, and that's going to allow you all to hold dollars, rebuild your infrastructure with the backing, knowing that if anything were to hit the fan, you can turn in what I believe was $35 and you would get an ounce of gold. So from there, that agreement allowed for us to move forward as a world post-World War II, where we globalized ourselves financially amongst the entire world. This was when we really became the captain of the planet. And we lied about how much gold we had. We started spending money on wars like the Vietnam War. We'd go through what's famously under Lyndon B. Johnson, I believe, was called the guns and butter economic crisis, where we're funding a lot of social issues and war. We couldn't do both, but we did.
You got to do both.
You got to do both. You have to have a little war. You have to have a little war. A little bit of war. You got to bomb somebody.
Yes.
The issue that came was France and other countries started sniffing that we didn't have as much gold as maybe we said we were, to the point France actually sent a battleship to one of the harbors in New York demanding their gold.
What year?
It's a real story. I think it was 1971. I think it was the same year.
I don't have a good French accent, otherwise I'd say something.
Sacre bleu, yeah, 100%.
Give us your gold, we need our 35 pounds.
That's what Deep's here for.
What in the ratatouille was that?
No, he's good, bro.
That was great.
He didn't even speak a word of French when we were in Paris, but he did the accent, and those motherfuckers thought he was speaking French.
Right.
Like it was like one of those where he's like speaking in rap.
Or if you were even to just speak English in that accent, I would think that you originally speak French.
Yeah.
Excuse me, can I get your packet of cigarettes in a baguette, please?
Yes.
Merci.
Yeah, merci. That's right. That's right. What do we got, Thief?
Yeah.
France made its famous gold demands. Oh, this was at like the height of the nuclear scare for gold between 63 and 65. President Charles de Gaulle actively began cashing in U.S. dollars for physical gold to undermine U.S. financial dominance, launching a secret operation to repatriate French reserves from the Federal Reserve in New York. All right, hold on a minute.
That's something completely different. Yeah, that's not, because this is even about the battleship.
Okay, but can we find the battleship while I'm reading this, Steve? Perfect. So the 1960s demand and repatriation in 63, de Gaulle demanded all foreign held French gold to be returned to Paris to protect its leverage. Between 63 and 66, France exchanged its dollar reserve for physical gold and transported hundreds of tons from the New York Fed back to France using Air France plane. Imagine someone just shoots down those planes. It's all gone! France further aggressively redeemed dollars for gold, leading up to the 1971 collapse of the Bretton Woods system. In 1971, France sent a warship to New York to aggressively exchange U.S. dollars for gold from the Federal Reserve. This dramatic move, rooted in a broader push by President Charles de Gaulle to undermine the U.S. dollar's global supremacy, ultimately forced President Richard Nixon to abandon the gold standard. Wait a minute.
And
it was a French warship in the harbors of Manhattan that officially made Nixon go, you know what, fuck it.
What month was that in, too? Because I think the official decision was actually made...
August 1971, France sent a warship to New York Harbor.
So this is why they officially made the announcement. They started looking into it.
August 15th, 1971, Nixon closed the gold window.
In April. Do you know who... Okay, so this is another one. You know Blackstone, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's like you've heard of McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
So Blackstone birthed BlackRock. Blackstone originally was I believe, founded in the 80s by Schwartzman and Peter G. Peterson.
And then BlackRock came out of yes.
BlackRock, yes. They funded BlackRock. I think it was early 90s for Larry Fink to go 50-50.
Yes, that is exactly right. Google AI said.
88, co-founder Stephen Schwartzman, Peter, to Larry Fink. And then they would go public in the early 90s. So Peter G. Peterson, founder of Blackstone, was on basically hiatus from his, his CEO-dom. He was, I think, a CEO in the film industry doing some shit like in the 60s. And then obviously in the 80s and 90s, Blackstone, and there was another company in the middle. But there was this gap in the early 70s, late 60s. I was like, what was this guy doing? There was like a 2-year gap.
Early 70s, late 60s?
He was in the White House. He was, and you can actually find this.
Was he planting them tapes?
Peter G. Peterson's wiki, I think.
Was he planting them tapes?
He was a part of the economics team that advised Richard Nixon around global trade. And it was actually Peter G. Peterson's report that he gave him in April that convinced him that we needed to get off the gold standard.
Oh.
So the founder
Keeps nodding.
of all of the bullshit we know as private equity today was the main reason that the inflation brakes were taken off of this economy, which I find to be interesting.
And for people out there, what makes that so interesting that it was able to, what about that was able to birth private equity's power, so to speak?
The weakness of the dollar. When we removed gold, because there'll be a lot of speculation around this. Oh, well, we couldn't be on the gold standard. We were expanding too fast, didn't have enough gold.
Well, FDR did the buyback.
FDR did the buyback thing. JFK wanted us to have a gold silver backed dollar. You can go into the logistics of it. We couldn't do it today. There's not enough gold on the planet. Could we do it in other ways with Bitcoin, silver? Sure. But the reason this was such a big deal is at that point, we could not create more dollars unless we got more gold.
Mm-hmm.
When you remove the backing of the gold from the dollar, you're now saying the certificate I have given you, which at one point was if you had 35 of these certificates, these dollars, if you had 35 of these, I could give you an ounce of gold, which meant the dollar had a real true backed value. When you remove that backing, you're creating a currency known as a fiat currency.
That's right.
Which puts it in the same category as monopoly money.
Yes.
It only holds value when we agree to it. It only holds value when we're all playing by the rules of the game. Like when I land on Boardwalk and you have a hotel there, I don't give a shit if I'm not playing the game and I'm a bystander. But if I'm playing the game and I'm about to run out of money and assets, it matters a shit ton to me. It's the same with the dollar. As long as we all accept it, that's the value. And when we remove the gold, now it's all up to government trust for the value of the dollar, the world reserve currency. And we've seen ourselves, and this is the biggest issue, because that in of itself isn't the economic issue. The economic issue comes with we now have undisciplined, unfettered government spending that anytime we hit a deficit, we say, we can just print. And we have slowly but surely been inflating not just America, the entire world's economy, because 60% of the world's reserves are held in the dollar. We are ripping the entire world a new one financially every time we print money, and we couldn't have done it the way that we're doing it now if we had a gold backing. Was that a reason why Peter G. Peterson presented that? Because he said, I'm going to make a private equity company and I'm going to make a bunch of money off this. Probably not. But private equity needs a fast growing, expanding economy to create its 20 and 2 profit model of buying and selling companies through leveraged buyouts. If they didn't have an ever expanding economy, the model doesn't really work. So to say that the two things are connected, probably not. Do they take full advantage of the fact that we have an ever-inflating debt-based economy that favors macro corporations over people?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like if I leave out fruit in the air, mold forms. Peas just mold that found an opportunity on something like this. That tracks. That would make sense. I mean, it's also, this is before the internet era that this happens, but it's in the rapid post-World War II expansion of technology in an interconnected world.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, as the long term would turn out and continues to turn out even worse every single day, more and more of a winner-take-all society.
Right.
Now, socialism, I don't like it as a system. It doesn't work. It's just been proven again and again. And I've always said capitalism is the best system, but I've always said it has its flaws. And we are seeing its flaws magnified more than ever right now because, we're living in a world where, the 50% of Americans don't have $500 in emergency funding, but we just printed a trillionaire. Now, if I say Elon Musk, therefore, is not allowed to be a trillionaire, that means legislation has to come in from fucking people in the government that says he's not allowed to be a trillionaire, and they set the bar at 500 billion or whatever number. And then later they get pissed off, and now they set the bar at 100 billion and all the way down, and suddenly it creates a worse problem on the other side. That said, it doesn't change the fact that the semantics and symbolism of being able to have people who have that much wealth at a time where so much of the world doesn't and is struggling, and the basic evolutionary needs of continuing the fucking human race to where people can't even afford to have kids anymore, it's a financial decision, is now being affected. It's like maybe something's a little off kilter there,
Our capitalist system changed in 2008.
I agree.
To your point, I think capitalism has a lot of pros, has a lot of cons. The socialism angle, though, I think what the pushback that people would give you on it doesn't work is Well, it clearly works for the elites. Anytime the economy wobbles, they get bought out, or they get bailouts, they get subsidies, they get government payouts, PPP loans. We know that the elites were taking full advantage of that and not going to the actual people that needed it on Main Street. Money printing, quantitative easing. If we didn't open that can of worms, I mean, I'll say we were supposed to have a much worse crash in 2008. It was supposed to be much worse. The economy was supposed to flip on its head, and those big titans were supposed to fall so that new could rise up. That's how capitalism works. It's supposed to go in those waves.
Dominoes.
But now we've created a world where we're not allowing it to fall. And it's almost like a game of Jenga. It keeps getting wobblier and wobblier, but they keep putting their hands on it to keep it up. It's like, how long can y'all keep this up? Because the whole point of Jenga, for those who've never seen the game, classic game. The point of the game is to take one piece at a time, a foundational pillar from this block tower, extract it from the bottom or middle, and put it on the top.
That's right.
In fact, there's a specific rule in Jenga that says you cannot take from the top percent. Top 3 rows you can't touch. So it is the job of the players to slowly but surely extract from the bottom and the middle, put it onto the top, and keep playing the game until it inevitably falls apart. And right now, I believe we're at the part of the game where everyone knows it's going to inevitably fall apart, and they're trying to profit while they can. That's why we see SpaceX IPOs going and making trillionaires. It's like, you know how they used to start a game of baseball? Like I used to play backyard baseball, and we start with the little hand
Pablo
thing.
Sanchez.
Yeah, oh my God, dude, Pete Wheeler. Hell yeah, dude. It would start with the little hand thing, right? And they go up to baseball, and whoever's at the top gets to start.
That's right.
It feels like everyone's kind of playing that in AI right now. It's just one hand after the next. Let me see if I can cash out. Okay, cool. I'm safe. I got my money. We all know this is going to fall apart at some point. At some point, we're going to reach the top and there's going to be nothing left. But as long as I can profit while it's happening, I'm going to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Don't be the last one stuck on the ship.
Don't be left holding the bag. Exactly.
I think you're right.
And I think a lot of people see that coming in the speculation around the AI bubble. I'm not going to sit here and say I think it's going to pop in at this specific amount of time, but I do think we will have some form of like .com bubble like crash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For every Amazon, there's 10 pets.coms.
Yeah. Amen. And there's just too much speculation, too many giant promises based around profitless companies on promises that are just at this point folklore until the AI can do what they want it to do. Till we get agenic systems and fucking quantum computing and robots shooting space lasers at us. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting that the way you put that, and it's a fair point that like the socialism works for the elites because of what they do laundering the system. The difference is they pay into that system ahead of time to actually decide who they get in there, so that the socialism is controlled by them.
And then that same thing bleeds into our accountability around crime. Because it's socialism for that. And that's why people hit me up like, you're a real estate agent. Why are you talking about Epstein? Because it's the same fucking thing.
Same thing. Yes.
The same people that are being protected by this, whatever it is that's protecting them, is the same exact reason you can't afford a house. And it doesn't take too many connections to get there. The same people benefiting from this ever-inflating, debt-based, usury-focused economy that only wants macro-corporate capitalism to survive while the normal working class has to just figure it out, has been around for decades. It's exacerbated right now in this K-shaped economy post-COVID. And it sucks to watch simultaneously them getting away with real-life crimes, real actual crimes. Simultaneously, they're also just sifting away all the wealth from not just America, the entire world.
It does feel like when you talk about someone's just going to be left holding the bag and they're all just trying to profit on the way there. I try to zoom out to 30,000 feet in the air and look at this and see all these different sectors like you did with those 5 bubbles there that we'll talk about in a little bit, with looking at it from 5 different angles to put it all together, and then you go in and you see all the nodes within. But when I see on one hand, you know, the Republicans and Democrats in DC all insider trading and making all this money and being worth tens or hundreds of millions of dollars when they're operating on a $174,000 salary. And then also you have the symbolism of like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, saying, yeah, we should be allowed to trade stocks because we're making a great sacrifice to have a $174,000 salary a year when the average constituent they claim to represent isn't even sniffing anywhere close to that. That's interesting. But, you know, I see something like that. Then I see something like printing trillionaires with IPOs. Then I see something like Doug Rushkoff talking about these billionaires he was advising about an end of the year world event so they can build their bunkers the best to survive. Then I see like the Epstein class so openly saying, yeah, no, we did it, but what the fuck are you going to do about it? Like I see all these things that are so blatantly in your face. You watch the outsider Donald Trump go in there and become the prototypical insider in so many ways and just do the opposite of all his campaign promises and look at you and say, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, it feels like it's either a really, really fucking warped nightmare simulation or like they know whatever it is coming. And they don't care about what, not that they ever cared what people thought, but the optics, they always tried to button up. They actually tried to cover things up in the past. Now they just do it out in the open. And they're like, what are you going to do about it? Because it almost speaks, it makes my brain go, are they just thinking we're all not going to be here sometime soon? You know, like whatever that looks like, whatever that is, I can't help but think that when I look at the actions of all these people and the brazenness, the openness of those actions. You know, why does Benjamin Netanyahu go on TV every day and say the worst possible thing from a PR perspective you could possibly say? Is it because suddenly he's a really dumb guy? He's a lot of things. The guy's never been dumb. You know, like it doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know what to make of it.
Do you think that here in America there's a reason, a cautionary thought that, you know, like people like me, people like you, you know, you have a huge platform here and you talk about risque topics, you know,
sometimes
government corruption, finance, like bigwig stuff. You know, we talked about John Kiriakou. He's running around talking about crazy stuff like this happened in the CIA. And do you think there's a part of it where they want us divided?
Oh yeah.
And that's obvious. That's probably the wrong question, but
no,
that they want us to almost know about the corruption, that they want us to see it, they want us to be angry, that maybe they want a larger January 6th so they can have a reason to put these people behind bars, get them on a database, control their social media, but they need that moment. They need that moment, and they know they can fuel that moment if they just get them angry. If we keep the money out of their pockets and make them angry?
It's a great question, and I think there's 3 doors here.
Okay, you're Wayne Brady. Match
One,
game. Let's make a deal.
One door is as bad as all this shit is. Whatever's way worse is so bad that no one can ever find out about that. So they're cool to just take this L on all this objectively bad shit, whether it's like cheating the people out of, you know, a future, fucking Epstein stuff.
And what is that? Every politician has fucked a kid and now they don't want to, or aliens are running everything, like something insane.
It's something insane.
Yeah. Okay.
Door
number 1.
Door 2. I'm trying to remember if I can remember the doors now. I was cooking them.
I'm locked in. All
right. Door number 2 is that they've already lost control of it. And they genuinely, actually, for the first time, because we're in this open internet age where the average person can't just be, you know, quietly muffled in the corner of the public square and taken into the fucking sewers without anyone noticing. They can't do that anymore. They were trying to do that in the 2010s and in early COVID, censor people off the internet, and then that kind of went away. Which is also interesting because like Elon Musk was at the middle of making that go away, and he's got some interesting friends, right? And then door number 3 is, yeah, it's something like what you're saying, where they want to piss people off so much that they cause something to happen that will create fears so that they can instill the opposite of sacrifice a little safety for liberty, neither deserving safety nor liberty, and say, no, actually, that's how you deserve it. You got to sacrifice it to get it. You have the fucking president of the United States arguing for 702, feisty 702, publicly, literally doing the meme and saying the opposite of the Franklin line, like as the president of the United States when he was the guy that was supposed to stand up against all this. And it's like, my only thing on that third one is I don't know how that'll work at this point. Yes, you'll talk to some of your friends who are still completely asleep at the wheel and don't know shit. And yes, that's more than 1 or 2 people out there in America for sure. But there is such a large percentage of the population. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's not 5%. It's better than that, especially among the 2 youngest generations who are, by the way, the most able-bodied. You know, that is at least aware that shit is backwards and fucked up. Even if they can't explain it all, they can feel it.
Right.
that if you tried to manufacture, and that's what we're talking about here, some type of quote unquote event like that would then say, oh my God, look, fucking 100,000 people died. Guess we got to go into a security state, but you'll be safe.
Exactly.
I don't think enough people would buy it.
You don't think, but would they have to buy it? Would they have to buy it if the crime was so bad? Like, look at what's happening in LA right now. Like, what if LA was happening all over the country? People couldn't get jobs. AI was only making it worse. People couldn't afford basic necessities. It seems like you're going to rent and be happy living a subscription life, all while we provide this flock camera, Palantir, crimeless society. Like I told you about the right before this, I was driving on a road in Maryland, right outside of DC. I'd never seen this before, but it was a speed limit sign that had a green kicker on the top. It said digitally enforced at all times. And you could see the cameras lining. It was like for a good 2 miles. I'd never seen it. Maybe they're testing it. But the one thing I could see immediately was not a soul was going more than 2 miles over the speed limit.
Yeah. Yep.
It just seems like it's very easy to get to that point with us at this point.
Because they have something to lose. Those people that are still driving at the speed limit because they don't want to get the ticket.
Yeah.
Even if they don't own homes anymore, some of those people, because there's less of that, they still have a place that they rent that they go home to. They have running water, a place to take a shit, and a roof over their head. And when they turn on their TV, they have Netflix. And it's just good enough to distract them from actually wanting to do something about the life that they clearly hate because they have a job they don't like, debt they're never going to get out of, and a home that they're never actually going to own.
Phew, sign me up.
But they have just enough. When they no longer care if they get a speeding ticket because they can't fucking pay it anyway, or God forbid, maybe they're at a point where they can't even get a speeding ticket because they can't afford a car, people won't go 2 miles per hour there. It's like the road to, and I advocate against this. I want to be an optimist. I want to figure this out. I want to have a better future.
I
for
do
the next
too, by the way,
generation.
just for clarity.
Oh yeah,
I do too,
you
just
and I
for
were talking
clarity.
about this. I believe you, but it's like, the road to revolution isn't necessarily this straight up line of like everything's good to it's a little less good to it's a little less good. Now people are pissed. It's less good. People are more pissed. It's less good. People are more pissed. Revolution. It can happen like that emotionally to where people get more and more pissed, but it can have lulls in there where people get apathetic. They're getting more pissed, but they've been pissed for so long that they're like, fuck these people. They never change. What am I going to do about it? And they go home and they jerk off to fucking go to sleep and they forget about it and they wake up the next day and do it all over again. Eventually then it gets a little bit worse, and it gets worse to the point that it feels like someone's taking a fucking lighter and bringing it a little too close to their skin, that now they can't sit here being apathetic and ignore it. And at that point, if enough people come together, well, you got a problem, my friend.
Do you think that's why the muzzle velocity news is so in our face, constant, new headline, new breaking news, new thing to be angry at? Do you think it's to force that apathy?
Ooh. By drowning everyone in noise?
Yeah, drowning you in things to care about. You don't even know what to put your effort into. You could just as easily pour your effort into Gaza as you could the Epstein list. You could easily listen to the Maria Farmers of the world and be like, why the hell is no one listening? As you are watching, oil shorts get profited on by tweets.
That's right.
It's like there's nothing. And now there's a Truth Premium. You hear about this? Oh yeah, I don't know what it's called. It's Truth Social.
Come on.
They're selling. No, this is real. They're selling access to Trump's market-moving tweets to banks and institutions before they go out, so they can have a few seconds heads up.
They're not doing this.
No, it's a real thing. What?
Our buddies go at it over this stuff, and
Yeah.
Oh wait, so Kish was calling out John on this one? Or
John was like, "This is capitalism, dude."
Oh no.
No, this is insider trading. This is insider trading.
We'll work on them.
Tweets are moving markets, and now they're monetizing it.
All right, Trump media pitched $100,000 monthly fee for fastest feed of U.S. president's post, sources say. This is what I meant when I said they're just throwing it in your face so much that I don't know if you meant to do that, but this is case A.
Exactly. What do you get mad at? There's so, and it's not just Trump. Biden's economy
Oh,
fucking sucked.
Oh, it was
Got
a
torn
disaster.
apart, mishandled all the inflation that came from COVID, mishandled the supply chain breakdowns, immigration, corporate regulation, all of that. But you can look at Trump's first term and there's not a lot of glowing remarks. You can look at Obama's term, there's not a lot of glowing remarks. You really go all the way back to Clinton. And then there's some people who will be Reagan apologists. I'll be on the side of Reagan fueled all the things that broke in the 70s.
Deregulation.
Yeah, the deregulation, the workers' unions, the new tax bracket system. We got so far away from the top marginal tax in the 50s. It was 90%. Did many people pay it? No, because they got away with it through tax loopholes the same way they do today. But just in real estate, like little simple things that aren't illegal, like 1031 exchanges that keep you from being able to pay taxes as long as you buy another investment property, or being able to avoid capital gains in other ways. Like there's so many loopholes that exist in investing in just this corporate economic sphere that I'm not even privy to. Hell, Jeffrey Epstein might have had his entire prowess around his ability to avoid taxes. It might very well be the case. And we haven't fixed any of it. Trump, even in his the Hillary Clinton debates, went on and said, you know, I have avoided my taxes, a lot of them, because I play by the same system that's already been created.
That's right.
But it's been a decade and none of that's been shifted or changed, which again gets me to the point with housing, which is of course where I'm based and really the only thing I would consider myself even close to an expert in. In real estate, I don't see any legislation currently in place that would make a house more affordable, make rent more possible, create more supply, lower the regulation costs, lower the regulatory costs, make it cheaper for builders to build smaller homes or be able to be more creative with container homes, tiny homes, 3D printed homes, building more vertically than horizontally. Big problem in Delaware. We have so many core issues with one of the core economic platforms of being an American: owning a home, having some dirt, having a little dog that can run around your picket fence on a property you own and could paint pink if you'd like to, is the American dream. And we've ripped it from the entire generation coming up next to us, all while they don't have jobs, all while they don't know if robots are going to have their job, all while we don't even know if we're going to be the hegemonic leader of the world in the next 10 years.
You're creating a beast that's got nothing to lose.
Yes. I mean, just the one stat that gets me, dude, you could probably pull this up. We don't have to, but I think it was 2016, maybe it was 2012. More than 50% of under 30-year-olds were married and had a house. Mm-hmm. It was like 51%.
Yep.
Married and a house. Today it's 12%,
12%.
And dropping dramatically.
Dropping.
We've gone from 1 out of 2 to 1 out of 8. So just like you said, you're building a childless,
Well, they must not be working hard enough.
spouseless,
That's
bunch
what-
of
that's what the
fucking
boomers tell me.
lazy, stupid Gen. Yeah,
It's just-
Gen,
it's just 'cause they
Gen
don't
Z
want
is
it, right?
honestly probably the dumbest generation that's ever existed.
Right, yeah.
They're not the most educated.
They don't pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
They're clearly not the most physically fit generation that currently exists. They're of no threat to the future construct of America if they're not properly fed or sheltered. So why care about them?
Unbelievable. It's just like when I hear those talking points.
Yeah, it was 2012.
From boomers. I'm like, do you walk outside? The statistic reflects a past era rather than a recent one. Historically, about 52% of Americans under 30 were both married and owned a home. In 1960, that figure dropped to 25% by 2012. The recent data shows it has plummeted to around 12% to 15%. There it is. Yeah. I mean, that's just like...
See, but that though says it was 25% in 2012. I had another graph that showed that it was higher. Regardless,
Either way,
it's still a steep drop.
half.
It's still a steep drop. I just like to
split
be
in half.
spot on with my stats.
No, that's
'cause-
all right. But like that's why Deep's here, like so we can get it and no one can get yelled at. But like point remains. I mean, it's a steep decline. And like generationally speaking.
Average age of our first marriage now 32 years old. I didn't know that one.
Generationally speaking, man. You look at society. You ever read The Fourth Turning?
Yes.
Okay. So you know, and I don't have to explain it in for people because I do that all the time. But like you
a
look
good
at
book.
these, it's an amazing book. You look at these 4 different generations that repeat again and again on this same 21 to 25 year cycle. And they always exist in the same eras of a problem, whether it's everything from a good era all the way to like the crisis era. And, you know, the millennial generation, of which I'm on the farthest back end of it, is supposed to be like the hero generation. There's the last time this generation happened in the cycle, it was the greatest generation that went and fought World War II. And yet when I look at the generations, I think if I were planning social collapse, I would have foreseen that cycle happening, and I would have made sure that I did everything I can to neuter the generation that's supposed to be heroic. And when I look at millennials, especially like the top half of millennials, they're kind of in like no man's land to me because the system happened as it did. When they were young, they knew a world without technology, and if they're older millennials, they knew it almost all their childhood, and then suddenly they were given these shiny fucking crazy tools with social media and stuff when they're 17, 18 years old, and they bought into it all the way, and now they're 39, 40 years old, and they kind of accepted the world that was set up for them through that, you know, tech system, and they're realizing, oh shit, it's all wrong. Like, I still don't own a home. Maybe I don't have kids, and now my future's more behind me in some ways as far as like trying to get started than it is in front of me. And so they've been neutered. Whereas you look at like what the next silent generation was supposed to be, the generation that grows up as children during the crisis, that's Gen Z. And they're young enough to have grown up in those times and be really fucking see the malaise and be like, fuck this. And they actually have some strength to them. The question is, have they already been sidelined enough from having any potential in the real world? I hope this is making sense to you. That they don't have the economic or collective leverage to do something about it. I think about that a lot.
Because if you were to get the Gen X boomers on the same page of some form of, let's say, like financial strike, you know, they have enough money through their corporations, investment portfolios, real estate holdings that they could actually make a sizable footprint in any type of revolt. Yeah. But if Gen Z were to say, well, we're just not going to come into work. Like, okay, well, we'll
get AI.
We'll get AI to figure that out in a year or so.
Accounting's still here.
Yeah. So, no, that's a great point. That's a great point.
I don't know how, like,
not a white pill one, but a great point.
I don't know how you fix that. It's so.
I agree. Dude, I won't be, I mean, I get people that want to leave the country. Like, I truthfully and honestly understand, like, people that are single and make a decent enough amount of money doing something digitally that want to go to Greece. Like, I get it. And that's something I never would have talked about growing up. You know, dual military household, as military brat, did the same thing myself. And also really benefited from capitalism. Like, I am in the top 10%. I'm not going to pretend I'm not. I really benefited from capitalism. But there's this weird sociopathic tendency of this American version of corporate capitalism that breeds us to not worry about those that are not even ever finishing one economic race. Meanwhile, you're finishing your seventh. Like, no one ever gets to the finish line and turns around.
It's like you were describing this earlier, like you caught the last fucking jump.
Yeah. It's like an action action movie where you have the 4 or 5 people robbing the vault, the guys in the van, like, I hacked the system, but they're getting in, like, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, the alarm goes off. Yeah, you're the star of the movie. You get out of the vault first. You get out. In fact, actually, you get out second because you grab someone who's not paying attention and throw them out.
That's right.
And then you go out.
That's right.
I'm the guy who's like,
sorry, Dave,
kind of losable in the plot. Kind of losable. You don't know. I'm kind of the nerdy guy. You got a little cheering on for him, that I slide right under that vault door as it's shutting. That titanium door. You think it might smash me, but this is a PG-13 movie, so probably not going to see guts, but you think about it, and then I make it.
But you know Amanda's dead.
But Amanda's on the other side. I hope she's on the other side screaming, banging on the vault, not smashed underneath of it.
She's already burned to death.
Done. Okay, got it.
That's right.
So you're underneath the bank vault. Yes. That's how I imagine Gen Z.
It was fast.
It was really quick.
It was fast.
She didn't scream much. No. You couldn't hear over the alarm, actually.
No.
It was screeching in our ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to get out of there, or we all would have gotten caught. I don't know what to tell Gen Z because I feel like they're on the other side of the vault door.
You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah. So it's like, are there going to be people that succeed? Yeah. Are there going to be successful businesses? Yes. Are there going to be people who literally pick themselves up by absolutely nothing and nothing backing them that make something of themselves in this country that could only be done in this country? Yes. Will there be such a smaller percentage of them that do that now versus 10 years ago? 100%. There's going to be such a smaller fraction that are able to actually do that.
Yes. I think America is, I'd say, probably by far the best country on earth to exist in if you have a major talent and or you want to sacrifice everything to win the game, whatever the game is.
Right.
But if you want to live the good, wholesome life, work at a good job, maybe working for someone else, but like have something stable, have a family at home with the white picket fence and know that you're living clean, it is now, maybe it happened sooner in my life and I just didn't realize it, but for the first time in my life, I am realizing there are better places potentially to do that than here. I'm not saying it's a lot of places, but there are some. When I was over in Italy, I made friends with this kid, Lorenzo, who's like 23, business guy, self-starter, has big aspirations and dreams. And he wants to come to America, and he's absolutely right. It's a way better, for what he wants to do and the things he wants to get into, way better opportunity. But he and I were having this conversation about, like, if you're just kind of, want to open up just a family restaurant and do that and live a decent life. I was telling him, I'm like, it's not the worst. Like, he's explaining the system to me. I'm like, it's not the worst thing here. Like that could work, and it could be a lower key lifestyle and nicer here in some ways for you. And that we got to fix, because America was always the place everybody wanted to come to. In fact, they still do from a lot of places. We see people pouring across our border who, in those respects, yeah, it's way better here, even in the lower class than where they're coming from. I'm talking about across like other first world countries, you'd call it. The fact that some of them, for a certain class of people, could have some maybe better lifestyle opportunities is wild, and we got to fix that.
You're right, because I walk through my own life and I think, like, where I'm at now, I got a little homestead. I got my daughter, got my wife, 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Early military marriage.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. I just want that. I just want to wake up to my wife every day. I want to teach my daughter about life and what's good, what's bad, and let her decide what she's going to go after and watch that bloom. Reserve. I want to watch her lead the Federal Reserve. Yes. Right. I want her to one day be the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States.
That's right.
That or a mortgage officer. The beauty and simplicity of not having to worry about bills being paid for me while simultaneously getting to live out of the dirt, plant seeds, have rain barrels collecting my water, slowly but surely get it off grid so that I'm self-sustainable, learning how to build fences and sheds and actually feel like I have a skill set has been much more fulfilling than really anything else I've ever done. Mm. And I wish that we lived in a world where, like, I'll shout out Sean, my longtime video guy. He just wants to live a simple life. Yeah. He doesn't want to run a business. He doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. He doesn't want to hustle. He wants to travel and climb mountains with his girlfriend. Awesome. He wants to go on trails and camp and learn about different cultures. And I think that there was a time in the American lifestyle where he could have chosen to have done that without needing to grind, just exist, just have a decent job, save some pennies, and that's for you. It just doesn't exist now. And I might sound like a puss for saying that. And you're like, oh, you little hippie. But, like, what is this capitalistic world? We're just grinding our lives away for paper so that one day we can be really old and maybe not have to grind away for paper. Yeah. It's kind of weird. The lifestyle and opportunity that can come from it is obviously there. But when we're in the richest country on the planet, there's more wealth than the world's ever known at one point in time. Like, for us to still have a growing homeless population amongst our veterans, for us to have a growing wealth gap that is seemingly pricing Gen Z out of ever being able to have a house, that's not economically in any form good. No. But yet we'll look at the GDP and we'll tout the stock market, or Pam Bondi will talk about the Dow Jones being over 50,000. Meanwhile, we're talking about pedophilia. I can't stand the rhetoric around the economy constantly just being this inflating asset that is stocks, that is homes, that is our GDP, all while the normal everyday citizen does not feel that economic stability or wealth in their own pockets. In fact, it is being ripped from their pockets without them knowing, because instead of taking the dollars out of their pocket physically, they're just slowly taking the power away from the dollar in their pocket with inflation. And we're getting lied to about it, and I hate that.
Yes, it's a resource allocation game.
Yeah, that's a good way of
it's
summarizing
still
it.
wealthy, but like the wealth is, it's it's like oil and water. Something's got to rise there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
that's
so
good.
it's rising to a smaller percentage while the distribution changes overall, but the amount stays the same. It's just fewer people enjoy it. Now, how do we, it's not a great time right now, but you got a big book there with a lot of numbers and a lot of ideas.
Right.
At the ground level, everything, let's say everything's burned and we're in the ashes and we got to figure out how to grow a whole new beautiful farm here. What kind of seeds do we start with here? What are the first things that we can do from a systemic level outside of, because I do think this is a big deal, but outside of let's prosecute the people who have been controlling things and maybe a part of the Epstein class and stuff. What are some things for the average American that we can do to start to flip this switch a little better?
I'd start with number 5 on the page you got right there. Guys, just notes.
All right.
I think
Government reform.
It would have to start with the lawmakers. It has to start with legislation. If we do not get insider trading out of Congress, if we do not enforce age limits in Congress, term limits in Congress, and I think that their pay should be tied to the median pay of the constituents they represent, which would mean they're all getting paid something different, but they would actually share a benefit in getting that income up for their constituents, because then they would get paid more, right? I think that we need to just get people in office that actually care about people over profits. And getting back to the original setting of our lawmaking, it was supposed to be a normal individual comes into Congress having originally worked a normal job within the community, they serve their country, and then they go back into the community. Now we have lifetime politicians, which is completely different than what's actually going to create results.
Can I read off all
Oh,
the
please,
things
if you can read
wrote
it.
right here?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I got horrible handwriting. This is way better than mine.
10-4.
Balance. So under just the government reform section you were just referencing, balanced budget every 5 to 10 years as opposed to over a term. We'll come back to that because also we have 40 trillion in debt right now. End stock buyback and board positions for any lawmaker for 10 years post-term. Tie executive pay to median workers' wages. You explained that. Lobbying will be grandfathered out for all future terms. I love that. Good luck as well.
Well, that
enforce and go ahead.
No, I was gonna say if we that's a Vivek Ramaswamy idea.
Yeah.
If we grandfather it, you get the opportunity to make heroes out of the people currently in and allow them to keep taking their money. But the moment they bounce, whoever fills their position wouldn't get to.
Wait, say that again.
So if they were to vote it in to say we're going to go ahead and grandfather out future terms or future people who hold this position in Congress from taking either corporate or foreign spend lobbying, you could make it so that, let's say Nancy Pelosi, you can still take money from all these lobbyists. But the moment Nancy Pelosi is out and someone takes her position, that person will not be allowed to.
Got it.
So they would be the hero for the future, but simultaneously, it's kind of realistic because I don't think you're going to, and like you just said, the ashes are on the ground. So maybe we don't have to do that. But if the ashes weren't on the ground and we needed to get these people to actually do something, we couldn't take the money directly out of their pockets at this point, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, this next one. Enforce antitrust laws to dismantle corporate monopolies.
The oligarchy is obviously in control. We have to have a world where there's at least open and honest communication around, like the Federal Reserve is a good example. We need to have more open, transparent, where are you getting the numbers from? How are you calculating the data? What data are you working off of? Because it moves the markets by trillions. We need to have more authenticity in our lawmaking as a whole. We shouldn't have these omnibus bills. We shouldn't have legislators that are not even reading the bills. Their team reads the bills and gives them summaries. We need to have people in there that care. And if those people actually were to care, we could create laws, create committees that hold these monopolies accountable. We need to reinstate Glass-Steagall. We need to actually create antitrust laws that work, and that starts at the ground level of legislation. There's nothing the common man can do to stop a monopoly.
Right.
It's supposed to be the law that does that, and the law is not doing that.
Let me add a part A to that based on something you said. I would make a limit on how long a bill can be.
In terms of how long you
I mean,
can
you
sit
see
on the
this
voting
sometime-
floor?
No. Sometimes, a lot of times, these lawmakers will be handed a bill this
Oh, how
thick
long they physically are.
Yeah.
Got it.
at 2 hours before they got to vote.
Yes.
Ain't
Yep.
nobody knows what's in there. All you need is one little sentence in the middle. It's like you're reading a story like the little girl was going to the river and then she saw a fox and then she went and played with a deer. And then, by the way,
She
We're
gave
gonna-
she got $1 billion from Israel.
by the way, we're going to print $7 billion and send it to Israel. And then she went home and had dinner with her grandma.
It was
one
porridge.
No one sees that sentence.
It was like the housing bill had a bunch of stuff in it. Had nothing to do with housing.
Nothing to do with it.
So getting rid of those omnibus bills and creating
Yes.
single issue bills too, I think is a big part.
Next, I didn't even see that. Your next one right here, single issue bills on all legislation. Love it. So 6-year term limits for all senators and representatives. I agree. Remove corporate influence from elections by enforcing strict limits on campaign contributions and implementing publicly funded elections. The other thing is, dude, now that we're in a full-blown social media society where even like a lot of boomers are on there, it's never been easier to, if you have the chops, get attention for free.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you need to fund a campaign? If you're any good, get on
Very
there
fair.
and use your charisma, even if that's for the worst because you're just a charismatic liar. But let the market speak for itself.
Right.
Now's the time. All right, all those things are fucking great, man. But the other problem is all the people that have to vote on these are the people in the system who are incentivized to vote against it because it votes against their future interest to be able to have power or be close to it.
Because it's all about power and money. That's why I get away from the political discourse of red versus blue. It is two sides of the same coin. It is two wings of the same bird. And if it's about more power, more security, more affirmation, more potential at a future job position, like an executive board position for one of these lobbyists, they're going to do it.
They're going to do it.
They're going to do it because it's well within their rights to be able to do so, unfortunately, as un-American as that sounds.
100%. All right, let me go to the bathroom real quick, and then we got some shit to talk about.
Oh, yeah, dog.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, we're back. We were just talking about you potentially getting into skits like the new Drewski.
Yes, maybe.
So he crossed barriers doing the white face. You're talking about blackface now.
I don't know if I was. I don't know if I was talking about that. I'm not sure that was a part of anything that we talked about, actually. Wow, I divulged my secret billionaire secrets to you before this, and now
It was strongly insinuated. That's what I'm
fair. I have a very racial undertone to my manner of speaking. I get that.
In all seriousness, though, I think you should totally do skits.
I've done skits. They're fun.
The ones in your car talking to yourself are amazing, where it's like just that. But if you went all the way and also did like production and characters and shit, oh my God, bro, you'd be so good at it.
It seems like the only way that we can I don't know, maybe this is just me, but over the past few years of learning more and more, it's like at this point, I don't want to learn more. I think one of the easiest ways for us to understand what is going on and to mutually understand how crazy something is, sometimes it's a skit, something we can laugh at. I mean, George Carlin was great at that. Dave Chappelle's fantastic at that. Drewski right now, fantastic at that.
fantastic.
Like the Erika Kirk, or I guess it
God.
wasn't technically Erika Kirk. He never said her name.
And he never commented on it.
Never.
Very smart. But it was amazing.
Yeah, skits are cool. Skits are cool. I don't know. The Rothschild one makes me want to do more.
That was one of the funniest but most informational videos I've seen in a short period in a long time.
Really?
So that I guess that, you put that out a couple different times. But you were just in your car, as well as referencing earlier, because you've done some of these like skits where you're talking to yourself and you're just going back and forth, and your other character's like, no, it can't be more. Oh, it's more. And it's just like, how many years did this go back in America? Like 200 years or something like that?
That one went all the way back to 1837, the original bank panic, where the Rothschilds sent in their first arm into America.
There aren't. Okay, let's explain this, because people throw around the term, obviously righteously so, having read the Epstein files, of the Rothschild banking dynasty and everything, but it's like this thing, whereas you went through the tangible step by step where there's actually influence coming down into American culture directly from them. So 1837, what specifically happened there?
Man, August Belmont. He worked for the Rothschilds. He was an agent of the Rothschilds. Story goes that he was supposed to go somewhere else, came to America, and was like, I think we need to set something up here. And then for the next decades would do exactly that. They would start purchasing infrastructure, railroads, utilities, and start building up on pretty much one of our first major crises in 1837. It's also when I believe the second charter for our second national bank had been eliminated by Andrew Jackson. Yep.
He was an original populist, that guy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He would have been an interesting guy in history to talk to.
Yes.
Because he was
A
very
lot of wrong, a lot of right.
anti-establishment way before there was really an anti-establishment, it seemed. But of course, he didn't get a movie. Alexander Hamilton did. He was a little sexier.
That's right.
Central
Yeah,
bank
you had Hamilton in the flow chart there.
I did have him. Yeah, because he was the founder of really the original central bank. It would fail its first charter, then we'd pick up a second one. But that original charter, I believe it was 70% of the funding that went to the original charter of the first central bank came from European banking families. So the original funding for the original bank that got the Broadway special of Hamilton, 70% European money. So the whole premise of that Broadway skit is us basically getting away from Britain, like the king is made a mockery of in that movie. But in all actuality, the financing of that.
The warm embrace, bring it back.
Yeah.
The original funding for European Central Bank comes exclusively.
Not the European. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's the
Yeah, dude, type in the Fed or U.S. Central Bank.
18. Oh, it's like 1811, 1810.
That sounds right, because it's
Somewhere
right
in that
before the war,
range.
1812.
Correct. Yeah. But regardless, that was the first Rothschild infiltration that I can see. Of course, they started in the coin trade. I think it was late 1600s. And then through the 1700s, Mayer Amschel Rothschild would birth the 5 sons that would go to the different parts of Europe and hold up different arms of the banking families from France, Italy.
Yeah, it was Naples, Paris.
It's
Frankfurt,
on that document,
London.
the 5, but this is
Where
the
was
70.
the 5th?
Yeah, U.S. government share.
So the 20-year charter for the first Bank of the United States expired in March 1811, meaning it was not active. Was not active in 1810. While private investors, many of whom were European, funded a large portion of the bank, they had no voting rights, and the U.S. government was its largest single shareholder. First bank operated from 91 to 1811 as a quasi-public, federally chartered institution to stabilize the fledgling nation's finances and establish international credit. 80%, $8 million held by a mix of wealthy Americans and European capitalists, primarily from Britain and the Netherlands, which would make sense because Netherlands was one of the places, and this gets forgotten, that we were appealing to for financial support during the revolution itself. You know, obviously France is the famous one because that was military support as well, but that would chart. Okay. So despite the bank's success in centralizing federal funds and aiding commerce, its charter was not renewed in 1811, missing out on continuing past 1810. The expiration was driven by 2 main factors: anti-federalist sentiment and fear of foreign influence. Interesting.
It's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
It's nothing to be afraid of.
Nothing to be afraid of.
But when those banks when the second bank fell out, that's when, I think it was within a year of when the second charter fell out, we would go into the 1837 financial crisis. They send in their arm. And then
The Rothschilds.
Yeah. And the Rothschilds, again, are just one name. Here's the thing about the Rothschilds that get me, because do I think they're just a crazy lizard people that are here to issue in the Anunnaki and all this while? I don't think that, no. I do find it curious that they're mentioned over 12,000 times in the Epstein library.
I find that very curious.
I think that's very interesting. I find it interesting that Trump... that Dershowitz, Clinton, Prince Andrew were all introduced to Epstein by a Rothschild.
Les Wexner.
Why is this? And the other thing too, so the Rothschild that interconnected all these webs mainly were Adrian Rothschild, I believe, of the French bank, and Lynn Forster, the Rothschild. If you could you bring up the pink sphere on those 5 spheres of corruption when you get a sec?
The pink one.
Yeah.
Tech and corporate?
Actually, green up on the left.
One. Green for money.
Yep, green for money on the top left.
Okay. This is a hell of a sphere.
There you go.
So down in there.
So
Banks, private equity, and Wall Street.
if you zoom in over on the top right, you'll see Les Wexner's face barely. Yep, right there. This is basically the start of the Rothschild influence.
Okay.
Talking about people like Kathy Rumler and the Lynn Forresters.
Oh, she's directly connected as well. Obama's former chief lawyer.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, how so?
If you scroll over to the right and up, there's actually a video right there you can click on.
This one?
You click on that one or the one on the right-hand side. The one on the right-hand
Oh,
side.
look, there's Mark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were just talking about him.
Yeah, you got to get on a show.
Oh, you're on view only. Hit play.
We're
What
on view only. What does that mean?
The heck?
You want to pause so we get off view only real quick?
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So we got this video. This is the one from Flagrant. If you guys don't end up seeing it, it's because the background music was copyrighted or something, but you can find this by going to Flagrant's page, over to Shorts, hit popular, and you'll see a screenshot towards the top there of Sagar, and the title is called like craziest email in the Epstein files. Go ahead, Dave. Perfect.
So in all of the Epstein files, what is the craziest email that you feel like everybody missed?
The most interesting email is this connection of the House of Rothschild to Jeffrey Epstein. Edmond de Rothschild, at the time, was facing a problem with the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice was alleging that Edmond de Rothschild, the bank in Switzerland, was helping wealthy Americans dodge taxes. So what they decide is that they'll pay a fine. Now, to negotiate that settlement, they hire two individuals, Kathy Rumler and Jeffrey Epstein. He says, I think you will find 45.5 penalty, that's 45.5 million. Legal, 10 million for
To
legal
Kathy.
fees to Kathy.
Nice
Me,
day.
25. All less than 80,
he got more.
pretty good. They paid 45.5 million to the Department of Justice. Epstein was paid 25 million to broker that deal. The reason why this puts it all together for me is you have the Rothschilds negotiating with the American Justice Department. Who do you hire? There are 10 law firms which you hire. You don't hire Jeffrey Epstein unless you're hiring him for a reason.
That's right. Ooh, that's a good clip.
Yeah, that's a good clip. I like the
Yeah.
little music end.
Yeah,
of that.
music was good.
Yeah.
They cooked on that one. Shout out Shifty.
You got a little goosey on that one. That's
But
good.
it's interesting because of all the things where we look at Epstein and go, why the fuck did he have access to this or that? All righteously so, by the way. Or why did they make him out to be such a genius in this thing or that thing? Because it appears he wasn't. The one thing, the more I look at this, that it does seem like he was good at, it just made me think of it with this clip. They're talking about something a little different here, but finding money in weird places is like a money bounty hunter. You hear that term come up a lot. And whatever it was, even if like he wasn't personally talented at it, but he obviously was wired into the best connections possible to be able to get results, which that is what it is. Like that's very interesting.
It seemed like that was his initial connection with Ron Lauder too,
Yeah.
of Estee Lauder. There was an email. They had been connected for about 6-8 months, and then there's an email after they had lunch where Epstein says, "Hey, I want to go ahead and get his financials, contact to his accountant, and his will and testament." And it's like, wow, you just had lunch, and now you want to know where his money's going to go when he dies.
And now his son-in-law is the fucking head of the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Family, you know?
Just keep it in the family. Yeah, he might have just been a really good financial savvy individual that also happened to implicate super elite people into precarious situations.
Definitely did that.
But I mean, for example, like bringing it back to housing, he also was running basically the toxic financing of Bear Stearns through a company named Liquid Funding Limited. You heard of Liquid Funding Limited?
Did we cover that in an episode, Beef? Explain it.
So Liquid Funding Limited was a company, I believe, created in 2000.
Okay.
There was an offshore, I think, Bermuda.
Bermuda's a nice place.
Bermuda company, yeah. And Epstein was made the chairman of it in 2001 through 2007 until he would get arrested the first time.
Awesome.
Bear Stearns bought the majority of this company in 2001. I believe it was 40%. And what they were utilizing this company for is they were utilizing Liquid Funding Limited, Bear Stearns, a company that Jeff had worked at one point, and one of the first companies that would fail before the 2008 housing market crash. It would be them and Lehman Brothers.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Remember, Bear Stearns is fine. Bear Stearns is absolutely fine, Jim Cramer.
So the reason the 2008 crash happened was because of this thing called a collateralized debt obligation.
Yes.
Do you know who invented the collateralized debt obligation? Larry Fink.
Wait, he actually invented it?
Larry
I don't
Fink,
think I knew that.
Larry Fink was the first person who, at the very least, popularized, many people say created, with a couple other people at First Boston, I believe in like 1984, created the collateralized debt obligation.
Symbolism.
The collateralized debt obligation was what ended up fueling the 2008 housing market crisis because of what happened in 99 and what happened in 2004 with that SEC margin rule change, allowing for risky investments. The CDO is simply like, if you, instead of wanting to invest in one house, you can invest in 500 houses.
That's right.
By having a little piece of everyone's mortgage. What Liquid Funding Limited was doing is essentially taking the toxic assets that Bear Stearns did not want to publicly admit to having, or they didn't want to show because they were maybe losing money or maybe too risky. They would offload it to this offshore company, one which we know of, there could have been multiple, Liquid Funding Limited. And Jeffrey Epstein's leadership of this company, his job was to take these seemingly toxic assets, reorganize them, reshuffle up the deck, make it all clean and pretty, and then sell it back to the public market. So they could disguise what was, and we've all seen The Big Short at this point, faulty investments, make them look like they were double AAA. That was essentially going on at these offshore companies. So when they went to their quarterly meetings, they wouldn't have to talk about these bleeding assets or these weird things they had on record because they weren't technically on record. They were in Bermuda. And they had Jeffrey Epstein creating these collateralized debt obligation bombs that were being sent out to the entire infrastructure of the world, Australia, America, everywhere. And that's what inevitably collapsed when rates went up, people weren't paying on their mortgages, and these CDOs would slowly become toxic and collapse. And that's why companies like Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers would fall. And it's interesting that Jeffrey Epstein was the one leading the charge of hiding and reallocating these debt obligations. It goes further into the conversation you're having of maybe this guy was just truly a financial savant and knew how to do all of the crazy, weird, illegal things behind closed doors.
It's possible. That was one thing I got some shit for. Wait, so did you watch some of those videos that got leaked from the Steve Bannon sit down with him?
Yes, the interview. Yes.
Yeah, so
I think I watched the whole interview. I think it's up now.
A lot. Yeah, there's like 2 hours worth or something up.
Where he calls himself the devil or something like that.
Is that the one where he did that? It might have been.
Yeah.
But a lot of people walked away from that going, oh, he's an idiot. He's a total charlatan. And it's possible, but I actually had a bit of a different takeaway. I wanted to believe he was just a total idiot. And I do think that there are some things he was given credit for that's like, all right, was he really actually good at that? Maybe it's really just who he knew, or they're giving him extra credit for things he was able to do or whatever. But I want to watch that again to look for some takeaways, but I see a guy, like I've known people like him, people that kind of stutter and, work their way around and are saying a lot of stuff to try to sound smart, but it's making it seem like they're not smart. But then you start to realize once they put together 3, 4, 5 minutes of explaining something, maybe they explain something that really only needed 60 seconds, but they just take longer to land the plane. And then you throw in a Coney Island accent and you're starting to think like maybe they're dumb. But you realize once they land the plane, you're like, oh, shit. All right, he took a little long to get there, but all right, motherfucker just cooked.
That's the takeaway I got.
Yeah.
Honestly, I fully agree with your take on that.
Yeah.
I fully agree that he had a very good grasp on how the financial systems worked, on how big money operated. And of course, at the time of that interview, how many decades had he been working and running the finances of the Les Wexners and connected with the Leon Blacks and others, Apollo? I mean, he was at the top of it all.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this Dalton School professor was the person these people called.
Yeah, for some reason.
Like just in that clip, like you could call a bunch of different law firms to broker a Department of Justice payout. Epstein was paid out by the Department of Justice for brokering a deal between America and the Rothschilds.
$25 million.
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes, like in the movie scene of life, if there were 2 different scenes that happened multiple times, by the way, across different people. But on one side, you got Epstein, or people around him, people like him, who in the middle of just, walking down Fifth Avenue one day on the phone, just hanging up, and they look around at all the people passing them. And, there's just people watching, and they're like, God, if people only knew who I just hung up with and what I did. I wonder if that moment ever happened for him. And then I wonder if there was also the moments where people who were who didn't know him, but maybe someone on the other side at the DOJ when they went to write out whoever has to write out the $25 million check, or whoever that person is. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, why are we wiring this?
And now, like years later, they see it on TV and they're like, oh my God. Like, I wonder how many of those situations there are.
Yeah, the first take almost makes Epstein seem more human maybe than he was, but I wonder if he did have that moment. He seems almost so inhuman to not have had that moment. We could speculate it all day.
He definitely, you're talking about someone that very clearly had a complete inability to feel genuine empathy in any way.
Right.
So he's a sociopath. But he could fake it. Maybe not fake full empathy, but fake like he gave half a shit about you. Does that mean that there's like just enough human in there to have that moment? I don't know. Because to me, he's just like, you said it a few minutes ago, but if there's an embodiment of like the devil on earth, I don't think about everything he touched and the class of society he affected and the people on the lower parts of society that he affected in the worst possible ways.
And we have now 2 terms of presidents that have not released the information.
More than that.
Yeah, correct. Because this really goes back to 2007, 2008.
He was operational, it's clear now, by the early 80s. So, and was involved in Iran-Contra. So in some ways, you could, and I don't know this for sure, but you could make the argument that there has been an administration level covering up, ignoring of this since fucking Ronald Reagan.
At the least since Clinton. At the least since Clinton. Because that's someone that Lynn Forrester put. There's a letter in the Clinton library where she's like, I'm going to use my 15 minutes to introduce you to Jeffrey Epstein.
Did you see his testimony? Clinton in his house?
Yeah.
On camera?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said it. He goes,
lengthy.
I was friends with Lynn Forrester, the Rothschild, and I think he was talking about meeting Maxwell or something. And it's just like, they just throw that, like, that's the other thing, dude. I keep thinking about this. The word Rothschild, you weren't even allowed to say it. No one was allowed to ever say it, period, which was kind of interesting. And then out of nowhere, not only are like people allowed to say it all over the internet now, not only are their files being leaked out with their names not redacted in some cases, kind of interesting that of all the redactions they did, they didn't redact that. But they also have it to where all these powerful people going into depositions are voluntarily bringing it up. Les Wexner voluntarily brought it up.
Multiple times.
I don't believe it was brought up in the context of someone asking, do you know the Rothschilds? He brought it up himself multiple times. Bill Clinton brought it up himself. The accountant, I always forget his goddamn name, the Epstein's accountant, brought it up, I believe, himself.
Dershowitz brought it up multiple times.
Brought it up himself. All these people are suddenly like volunteering this information. Yeah, maybe I missed it for a long time.
No, you're spot on. When Dershowitz I think it was over the summer when Dershowitz first on an interview, because he said it twice now on an interview. Yeah, I was introduced to him by the lady Rothschild. I was like, did you mean to say that?
Yeah.
And then doubles down again on another one and says her by name, Lynn Forrester. And it's also interesting to me that Ellie de Rothschild and Lynn Forrester aren't blood Rothschilds. They're married in. So it is interesting to me that the 2 people that we're hearing the most about name-wise are expendable to the family.
Front companies.
Yeah, expendable to the family.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Female.
Ooh, that's a
married
bingo.
in. Yeah.
I think you're onto something there.
We see it even in administrations. You see scapegoats. You see people who have to take the brunt of it and do the hard work, full well knowing, like a Pam Bondi, you may not make it to the end of this.
That's right.
Just another lady, just another person that we can throw out and let her catch the flack, and then we can recover when she's gone. But yeah, you look at Lynn Forrester, she doesn't get talked about nearly enough.
Then why? So here's the one contrapoint to that. Why do you have like Jared Kushner voluntarily, again, without being asked, going on public interviews and saying, yeah, I thought about buying this Albanian island because I was on a boat with my friend Nat de Rothschild. Now, he's a blood Rothschild.
Yeah.
Why they...
Can we bring up the tree real quick? Who's Nathaniel? I think Nathaniel's the 5th Baron. Can we
I believe
scroll
so.
back and then go over the left where that yeah, go over the left where the family tree's
He's the
at?
British one, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right in the British line in the middle. Because that's Aryan. Can you go over to the right? Keep going. And then you'll see the Baron. Keep going, keep
This is
going.
incredible.
So by the way, I'll tell you the color of these lines and why they matter. So yeah, that was the first one. That's
the
maybe
old
who they
one.
named him after, but I don't think he's the lineage guy. Scroll back out real quick. Yeah, scroll down.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the new ones.
Keep going.
Keep going down.
No,
Keep going.
yeah, keep
We
going
gotta
down.
Go down to the bottom, basically. Okay, there's David, right?
There he is, Nathaniel, the guy in the glasses.
Nathaniel's in the glasses.
The
Right
guy in the
there.
glasses.
Yep.
Yeah. So
So
he's
his father was that guy.
his
above him.
his
Yeah.
dad was the creepy guy who sounded like atrocious. Who
Yes.
sounded like an evil villain.
Yes.
He's
My family was here to
he-
possess the wealth and helperism.
it's pretty spot on. Yeah, this is how he talked.
It's very weird.
He was also the one who said that we've been known to keep love in the family, which is also so. Scroll way back
I
real
can
quick.
Tell, looking at his fucking
Yeah,
face.
scroll way back real quick. Just real back, and then let's pause it so we can see the whole family
see
tree.
There's the father right there.
Okay.
Above him.
So you see the colors. Scroll
Yeah.
back a little bit more. Maybe
Yellow,
maybe not that much.
green.
Yeah. So we got yellow and green. No, it's fine. There's a lot.
You're good. There's so much going on.
So the yellow is father son, father daughter lineage.
Green is.
So green is interfamily marriages. So every green line you're seeing is somebody marrying one of their family members.
Oh wait, so the old guy we were just referencing isn't a greener? He looks like a fucking greener. See him right there?
His original lineage was.
His original lineage.
you
was-
scroll
look at
up,
that
yeah.
fucking face.
Yeah, if you can't so if we go to
Looks like
Lionel,
he got hit by a bus.
both Lionel was married to Charlotte von Rothschild,
He's
who
a real
came
looker.
from one of the other arms. What you'd see here is basically the arms between like Paris and then of Germany and then of the British. They would basically move it around and like intertwine it. And this wasn't an uncommon thing, unfortunately, with like these European banking families, but the Rothschilds definitely highly enjoyed it. Of what I'm tracking amongst the two generations that followed the original 5 banks, about 80% of their marriages were to a niece, a nephew, or a cousin.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's good family reading.
That's wonderful.
I read it to my daughter each night, the family tree of the
That's right.
Rothschilds. We learn a little bit more each night.
What does your wife think of this?
You know, at first, a little just on the sideline about it, because it started really just my anger toward the economy.
Right.
And then it's bled more into the history of things. But in the last 6 months, it's been a lot of, we have these conversations ourselves now. I think the thing that did it for her was Erika Kirk. Honestly,
Really?
I think that was
Can
her.
you explain why?
Well, she got big into, I think one of the first things was just the filming of Tyler Robinson all around the campus not matching up. And how'd the gun get here? And she's always been a huge true crime person. So
Women? A woman?
huge true crime. Right.
I've
She's
never heard of that.
Very, very
not into
small
that at all.
demographic of millennial women that are in the true crime. She's one of the few, like you said, but there's just a lot of true crime elements to that you could look at and be like, this isn't matching up.
That's right.
You know, why did they concrete it over? Why was there no ambulance? Why was he just thrown into an SUV? Why does the bullet not really match what it was supposed to do to his body? Why does the shirt move weird? Why is this person running away with a microphone and wire instead of like performing aid? You can keep going down the list. And there's a lot of people like the James Lees and Ian Carrolls and others that have been following it very closely up until today, as we now actually have the preliminary trials, I think, that are finished.
They're done now.
yeah, it
there
picks back up in October.
Yeah, finished 10 days ago or whatever, but there were 5 and now it's allegedly going to pick up in October.
Yeah.
But there could be, I think it was explained to me there's an open window now, meaning new hearings could be called ahead of that. I think
Okay.
Barron was telling me that when I was on the phone with him.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah,
either
I
way.
haven't been keeping up with it much because quite honestly, when around probably November hit, I had my mind made up that something's been covered up here.
Something has been covered up for sure.
Something's been covered up.
Yes.
I don't know who, what.
But it was
why.
Erika. It was Erika Kirk for your wife that
Yeah.
did it.
Her lack of remorse,
Yeah.
the dog and pony show of it all, laughing
Grief.
at her her employees' emojis like 9 days after his death. none of that really meets the eye test.
Yes.
And I think that leads a lot of Americans to then start digging in and listening to these people who are actually digging in, and like the Ian Carrolls that are walking through the details. Candace Owens, obviously humongous in that realm, that are asking questions. Yeah. Do I agree with everything that these people stand for? 100% no. And just the same way I know people listening to me don't agree with 100% of what I say. That's normal. It's human. That's what we should be doing. But I think we should also respect those that are asking the questions a lot of us want answers to that we're not seemingly getting. And if somebody were taken out and we were lied about too, and it was over his sentiment maybe around a foreign country, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
That's terrifying.
Yes.
And when you look at the line of items of, okay, what changed leading up to this event? There's not much that changed other than his sentiment toward a foreign entity. And he had the largest base, I mean, by far, the largest base of young conservative males in this country. If that base completely flipped, that's dangerous.
And here's the other thing. A lot of that base on that issue, even people that still supported him heavily, had flipped on the issue referring to Israel. Like when you look at the polling, especially of Gen Z.
I think it was a turning points. It was like a debate with Charlie, and he had it with Dave Smith and somebody else. Yeah, I think there was a huge turning
Smith
point that
and
was
Hammer,
happening. That, the pun intended, a turning point that was happening in that summer.
That was, and you know what? Of all the details around the build up to Charlie's death and just like context on where his head was at, I think what Dave Smith said about maybe it was 10 days after his assassination was the most overlooked one of all. Dave Smith talked about how he had never really spent time with Charlie Kirk before, I think, if I'm remembering it correctly. I believe this was in an interview with Sneeko, I want to say, so people can go look at this for themselves shortly after the assassination. But they were talking about it. He said, yeah, so when I went out for this thing at the end of July 2025 to do the debate, I think it was with the guy Josh Hammer, I want to say, he said, I got to spend like an hour with Charlie Kirk. And so, you know, we start talking, having a good time backstage or wherever they were. And, you know, within 15 minutes, we were talking about like a lot of books and a lot of kind of educational stuff. Within 15 minutes, it was so clear to me, not that it should have been a surprise, but like, okay, this guy, Charlie Kirk, is really well read. Like this is a very smart guy. So he said, I kind of looked at him. I said, all right, dude, you read a lot of books. You're smart as hell. Like, what's the deal here? Like, why are you still defending this, referring to like the Israeli government's actions, particularly in Gaza?
Yeah.
And what the Netanyahu government was doing. And he said it just like this. He said, Charlie went, listen, my faith is the most important thing to me. And the fact of the matter is, you know, the Israeli government, when it comes to the Christian sites in Israel, they have protected those. And if like a caliphate came in there, it would all be gone. And I'm very concerned about that, which when you hear that at first glance, you're like, okay, maybe that both things might be true there. But Dave looked at him and was like, okay, yeah, but like at what point does what we're seeing and the downstream effects on people's lives or lack thereof around the world not outweigh that? And I forget how Dave explained it, so please go check the interview. It's been a while, but like it wasn't, you could tell there was like Charlie didn't believe in them. He had one specific reason, and that's why he had gone along with it for a long time. But I want to say Dave's takeaway was like he might finally be thinking about it a little bit. And I don't know. I think that's really fucking notable because like I understand that at the surface of like, all right, he's a man of faith and like that's where the holy grail of his religion is and he's concerned about that. But to Dave's point, at what point do you zoom out? Like in that case, he's a Christian, Charlie Kirk. So like he believes in the example of Jesus. Like not to be that guy, but like what would Jesus want you to do in that situation? Would he care about where his tomb was, or you know, would he say maybe we should stop killing fucking kids?
Maybe. I don't think there's a straight up verse where he says let's not kill the fucking kids.
Yeah, listen.
I think it's insinuated
right
in his message.
I'm from New Jersey, so just, you know, give me a little bit of grace there. But
listen, no, I read the Bible at this point as somebody who was raised in a church, fell away from the church, and now has started reading it in the past 3 years just out of my own curiosity. The American church has been completely hijacked. Like nothing about the American church is standing for what the four gospels of Jesus Christ said.
Are you referring to like non-Catholic Christianity or all of it?
Just the like, I'll give a few examples. The prosperity gospel being one, that your financial level in life is directly attached to your spiritual affiliation with Christ. There's the nationalist side that comes with Christianity that is 100% akin to just European nationalism, white nationalism. And this Judeo-Christian value set that was really created in the 60s, 70s, around the Cold War era, I should say, as this this basically PR attempt to pin us as a different type of entity against Russia, because Russia was this cold, heartless, communist nation, and they're like, we're Christ founded, we're a Christian nation, even though none of the founders of the country were Christian. Thomas Jefferson famously published a Bible that had all of Jesus's miracles ripped out of it. Like they were Masons, actually, for the most
Freemasons
part.
there. I was gonna say
Washington,
13.
Benjamin Franklin. I think James Madison. Yep. So we're not a Christian nation. We're a freedom of religion nation.
Separation of church and state.
And that really changed in the mid 1900s to we are Christian based, and more specifically Judeo-Christian. And the sect of Judaism believes that Christ was not the Messiah, and that he was a revolutionary, went against the teachings of the religion, and ultimately was not the promised Messiah. Whereas Christians believe he was the risen Messiah. And the thought process that you could somehow merge those two viewpoints doesn't truly make any sense. To merge the viewpoints of Christianity and this man who came to an earth and decided, okay, all of you who are using religion and your financial status to belittle and control these people, I hate that. You using this text to belittle women, I hate that. His longest conversation in the Gospels was with the woman at the well. The people that discovered him after he was crucified were supposedly the women. You know, he did not in any way, shape, or form mirror what the average, like, let's say, American Pentecostal pastor is going to be preaching today.
That's right.
He was a brown, probably dirty, nomad immigrant who wanted us to basically set all of our egotistical needs to the side for the betterment of our community. And I don't see any of that in America, but yet we're in a Christian-based country. So when I read what the book of Christianity is based off of, especially the red words, all I can think is it's been hijacked. And it makes me not even say I'm Christian. I try to do my best to follow in what Christ taught to do, because I ultimately believe a sin-free lifestyle is a lifestyle where I'm going to feel the most fulfilled and be able to bring the most value while I'm here. You do that with a lot of different religions. I hate that we fall back on Christianity, and you heard about the things with Iran, like, oh, God is the reason that we're going to do this. Like, brother, bomb thy neighbors nowhere in Matthew. No. I've looked 3 times. It's not there.
Armageddon, though.
It's not in there.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
It is bullshit, and I hate it because it takes an otherwise, in my opinion, very beneficial, extremely wise, extremely dense, at least 4 books in the Bible. There's a lot of debate that we had about the rest. Yeah. But I mean, if we're going to base it off this man and we're going to say our country's based off of it and they don't align, again, it's like, did it get hijacked in some way?
That was one thing I liked that Rogan threw in there with JD Vance when he was asking about the story.
He did throw that in.
Where the general allegedly told some of the soldiers, like, God wants us to bomb Iran, like you were saying. And JD's like, well, you got to check the source and stuff. And then when JD went to explain how he would have done it, he said, when I'm talking to a bunch of obviously, like, let's be good Christians here and whatever. He said something like, I'm talking, if I were addressing a room of Christian men like that, I would have said this instead. And Rogan goes, no, you're addressing a room of the military. It has people of different religions or no religion at all. And that seemed to go in one.
And there should be no religious context in our foreign policy.
There should be zero religious context 100%. In our foreign policy. I'll take it a step farther. There should be zero religious context in our politics.
Yes.
That said, the other side of that, of like, therefore, if you take religion out of society because you take it out of the government, because you take religion out of the government, you take it a step farther and take it out of society and make the government your religion. Well, that's fucked too. I want to be very clear on that.
And that's what the original documentation was, for freedom of religion.
Yes.
Was for freedom of religion. Not for us to be a cultish Christian country. That's not what it was for.
That's right.
That's where they were coming from. The Quakers and things. I think Quakers in Britain beforehand. I could be misspeaking. on
What do you
that.
mean?
Like the original, like Puritan
Yeah,
Christianity.
they came to Pennsylvania. They had a different. Were they? I forget. Are the Quakers Christian or?
They
I
just make
forget
they
what
just
the-
make they make good oats. I know that about Quaker.
They make good oats.
Good
for sure.
oats.
Yeah. Shout out Billy Penn. Are they considered Christian? They, you know.
It's a Protestant movement.
Yeah, Protestant movement. But yeah, like good Puritan values and stuff like that. But like practice what you want to do. And that it shouldn't be. That's the thing. When it comes to like freedoms in human history that get infringed upon, it's obvious shit. It's like it shouldn't be. I shouldn't have to sit here and be like, yeah, practice what religion gives you peace. I shouldn't have to say that.
Right.
But the fact is, time and time again, we do because people like to say, no, I'm more right about the afterlife that neither of us actually know
We have
fucking
zero.
anything
Yeah,
about.
you haven't died. I haven't died. We
That's
have
right.
no clue. We
That's
have
right.
no clue. But we're so sure about it. I don't even know what's going to happen when I die. I'd like to believe I know, but I don't. So, yeah, it shouldn't be involved in any of our government, and it also shouldn't be the only excuse someone has to be a good person either.
That's right.
You shouldn't need
That's
a
right.
religion to be taught to be a good person.
That's exactly right, man. Just live your life in a good way.
Yeah.
And be humble that you don't know what comes next and be ready to answer for it.
right. And it seems
That's
like
it.
our country uses it for the opposite.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like we're using it for the war and for the.
Well, you said you grew up religious, so you grew up like Protestant or what?
I was in an Assemblies of God church as I was in there. I was raised in a Christian school,
Okay.
Christian parents, and I was a assistant youth leader for like the youth group nights on Wednesdays and Fridays, and played for the basketball team on the private. Like I was all in there.
Right. What made you turn away from it?
The same reason a lot of people turn away from it. Of this is all I've known, all I've been taught. Is this it?
Right.
Fell away. And quite honestly, one of the main reasons I fell away was my love that I found for entrepreneurship. And it took over my life. I mean, quite honestly, I suffered in my marriage from it. I suffered in a lot of things because I was so laser focused on the entrepreneurship world. Religion didn't wake me back up, but the idea that there is something bigger here. We're all operating on a spinning blue marble in the vacuum of space, arguing and making money until we die. Like, is this it? Is that it? Is that it? And all for me to not know even 100% sure what's going to happen when I die.
That's right.
Is this it? And it's not. Like, we've been taught and tricked into thinking that we work until the day that we die, and if we're not making money, we're not worth it. If our net worth isn't at this level, our personal worth isn't at that level. And people who are being stripped of their financial opportunity in this next generation aren't finding any value in themselves because they live in a world where the only value you have is the dollar attached to your name. And they're not being given an opportunity to even start that journey or a family journey or a life of fulfillment because they've been taught this life of fulfillment is based around a Christianity that is being completely hijacked or building a business becoming all more impossible with AI and automation in a country that seems to be bleeding itself dry for the sake of stockholders. Religion wasn't what brought me back, but it is something I started to study more and more when I was like, okay, there has to be more to this. And what I find in a lot of the people from, you can look at Mahatma Gandhi or even Martin Luther King in the way that they exemplified their love for their fellow man over themselves. And that's what I think it all is. When we can set aside ourselves and surrender our lifestyles for the sake of the man to our left and to our right, that's the epitome of all of it. And Christ even says it. When asked, which commandment is the best? Which one's most important? He says, love thy neighbor as thyself.
That's right.
And if I can give myself up for my personal life, if I can give up my personal, earthly, physical life for the needs of others and lay my life down in that sense, each day, quote unquote, pick up my cross, whatever word you want to put onto it for a bracelet or whatever, whatever you need to put others first. If we were all doing that, we wouldn't have issues.
That's right.
And that's a very hippie way of looking at it. But if I can be one of those people that can do that and do it, thankfully, and with God's grace, a little bit of a platform, I'm going to keep doing it. And just like you, I want to keep my vibes high, my energy high,
That's right.
physically, mentally, spiritually. And I think whole wealth is more important than financial wealth. Taking care of your body, your brain, and your spirit, reading, meditating, getting offline, going on walks, getting analog, doing a damn puzzle is important for us. And we're just being so locked into like the spirituality of the evil going on in our country, because I do believe a lot of this is spiritual warfare. And people might be thinking, oh, this is a little kooky. I really do think that. Good tends to win when we come together as one. It sounds kooky as even I think about it. Like we all come together under one need for good and we win. Maybe that isn't how it happens. Maybe this does go into a tech surveillance state that's run by evil. But it's clearly evil.
It is evil.
It's clearly evil.
Yeah.
So there has to be a good. There has to be a way that we can gain traction together as a community. It doesn't have to be around a church. It doesn't have to be around a religion. It should be the common good for the humans to our left and to our right, the ones that are struggling in India because of our inflation, the ones that are struggling in the Philippines because of what we're doing in this war. Like there's so many people around the planet that are struggling at our behest because we're selfishly running our economy to the ground.
Right.
For the sake of billionaires.
For the sake of billionaires.
For the sake of billionaires.
You were out there and saw that, at the ground floor, how that happens, visiting Massey during the whole election, that primary election he had, where he had $32 million spent against him, literally by like 3 billionaires who decided they just didn't like that he was pressing for the Epstein files and, didn't want to fund Israel into fucking Kingdom Come, And when you were out there, I think I cited it on some of our weekend shows, but like I liked some of your analysis because what you did is you went out and you were like taking polls at the polls of people of like who they were voting for and why and what had motivated them to do that. And you were able to paint a really good picture of how, in this case, a closed primary process, which is already going to be low voter turnout, you're required to be registered as a Republican to be able to do it. And, it's an off-season vote. I think this was in May or whatever, how an election can be turned with basically just paid misinformation. Yep. And I think it's valuable for people to see that because, unfortunately, now Thomas Massey, who was a 7-term congressman with a high approval rating until the very end there, and now suddenly being voted out when he stood for something, it's interesting with guys like him and maybe Ro Khanna coming up with his primary to see what they do there, spending against him. They're going the same way as like Frank Church in the 70s, who dared to call commissions questioning about the CIA's power and then suddenly had a lot of dark money spent against him to be pushed out. And that is like, I think it's important to sound the alarm for people all over the country by going there and showing people what you found and how people were swayed to do things and how fucked up the system is, because if it clearly hasn't been fixed at any point in the last 5 decades, so we got to fix it at some point. Otherwise, there's just going to be continued paid shills in there who vote against the interests of their constituents because they're paid by people that are richer.
Where does that progress? Because I hear you, and I did get to watch it, and it sucked to watch. I got to go. I was backstage with Massey, minutes after he realized he was losing. He was coming out for his commencement speech, and the vibe of his staff and everything. It was a downtrodden moment, shortly followed after by a great commencement speech, or not commencement speech. What's concession speech, right? That signaled maybe there's a 2028 something happening, and maybe that happens. But what changes that? Is it education so that people understand how these voting systems even work? Because I'll give one example of most people don't even show up for their own general election on off years because the main general election they'll show up for is the presidential election. Yep. But in the off years, you're only having people show up for things like Senate, Congress, and you get like 40% of the turnout, something like that nationwide. And then even before that general election on an off year, you have the primaries.
That's right.
Which in an area like Kentucky, which has been red in this seat, a 4th seat of Kentucky where Massey was running, has been red since the 60s. So whoever wins that primary right then and there to run for the Republican seat,
they're winning.
They're going to win.
Yep.
And it's happening in an off year. And it's happening 6 months prior in a primary that, just to be frank, people graduating high school don't fucking understand.
No.
Just don't know how. We're just now trying to figure out what the heck a mortgage payment is and what interest is. And the power that they have in their vote is not being explained to them when they become a voting age. We're not learning how to communicate in high school. We're not learning finances in high school. We're not learning anything that's going to be beneficial. We're definitely not learning how our political system works or how we have the power in our vote. Some may say we don't have the power in our vote. I would say there's room for that argument. But at the very least, an understanding of how it works, I think would benefit it dramatically, because what I got to see out in Kentucky was the polls were run by people that are 55 and over.
Mm-hmm. Who were watching AI slop ads that were fake.
The amount of people who told me that they voted for Ed Galrine, the person who ran and won against Thomas Massey, that said they voted for Ed because Massey was in a relationship with AOC. I had 3 different people say that because they saw an AI ad. Or the amount of people that just said simply, he's standing up against Trump. And I didn't argue with these people. It wasn't my place to sit there and have a debate with them. I was just there for data. But why do you want someone who's just a rubber stamp for whatever the party has priorly stood for instead of someone who independently thinks on your behest?
Because people are attracted to a cult of personality again and again and again.
Don't downtrod me with your dark energy.
No, I'm not trying to be dark. It's just human history. It happens again and again and again, regardless of political leanings. I can go all the way from one end of the spectrum to the other. And, you know, God forbid you question that and you do it from a lower peg, you're expendable. That's what I think. I don't know.
Just like you referenced, I think it was rigged, but I think it was rigged by money.
That's right.
And I think it was rigged by a foreign entity, which, whether it's Israel, whether it's Germany, Australia, China, Philippines,
Yep.
I think anybody who would be willing to, in a foreign country, spend tens of millions of dollars to make sure that 1 out of 535 lawmaker seats can be filled by somebody who's going to be a yes man is one of the most concerning things that you could possibly witness. And at this point, no one's talking about it. It's white noise at this point. It's what was that, 3 months ago now? And it seems like there's been 82 other things to talk about at that point. The muzzle velocity of things to worry about. It's like, okay, you now have 3 other things that you need to worry about. We can't focus on that anymore. And it is kind of downtrodden, or not depressing, maybe a little bit. But to watch the power of the vote be stripped from people based off of the misuse of capitalism.
Yeah.
Citizens United. The allowance for these foreign entities and corporations to spend unlimited money through super PACs to influence our elections. And wasn't just Massey. It's happening as we speak.
That's what I'm saying, though. We also have to look in the mirror and make those changes in America ourselves, because what's unfortunate is that what they did as of right now, like in that election, is legal.
Yes.
They were legally allowed to do that.
Yes.
And so, you know, the Mary Madelsons of the world have their priorities, and if they're legally allowed to do it, they're going to. So we have to change that.
The one good news is now that the Israeli and U.S. military intelligence are going to be linking. That's good. I mean, if we're going to pull some good news out of all that.
Yeah, we asked Senator McConnell about that. He wasn't happy with the 100 people that voted against it.
Oh, yeah.
He was very, very upset about that.
I didn't realize there were that many anti-Semites in the Congress. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
100.
Isn't that crazy? You get called an anti-Semite?
I have a complaint on my real estate license for it right now.
A complaint on your real estate license?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
People can just publicly, I'm a public independent contractor.
Uh-huh.
So in our state, and I think most all states, you could submit a complaint to the Department of Regulations, professional regulations, for any which reason that you'd like. I think I've had 8 in my career. I don't have any that actually made their way to my license because they were all defensible or people that were just mad or whatever. But yeah, I have one right now, maybe a second one that's coming through based off of my online content, and both are around me.
Your online content. So let me get this straight. Because you critique a foreign government's influence within our own, because of the race of that government, people are allowed to therefore deem you a racist.
Sure.
Yeah. So I've given this speech a few times. It's pretty good. So I'm gonna give it every fucking time.
I'm locked in.
When I call out the Chinese government, I'm not xenophobic. When I call out the Russian government, I'm not Russophobic. When I call out the Ukrainian government, I'm not Ukrainophobic. When I call out the British government, I'm not fucking Anglophobic. When I call out the Saudi government, I'm not Saudi-phobic. But if I call out the Israeli government, they'll call you anti-Semitic. Fuck you. It's got nothing to do with anything. That's how you get to that. Using labels to excuse totalitarianism or anything along those lines is objectively one of the most evil things you can do. And the fact of the matter is, it just blows my mind that the same people doing that in Israel and that government share a race with people who were subjected to some of the same things they're doing now,
Right.
not long ago.
Right.
And then they have the audacity to say, therefore, we're allowed to do what we want. And they have the audacity to call out all these governments, including our own, who allow them to exist effectively.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. And I will not stand for it. You know, I'm from New Jersey. Like, all my friends, Italian, Irish, Jewish, Black, Mexican, like, it's a very fucking diverse place.
Mm-hmm.
All right? I don't say anything that I wouldn't say to anyone in my life's face, including on this particular topic, any of my Jewish friends whatsoever, because nothing I say is anything more than a critique of a government's actions.
Right.
So the fact that that would make it to a public real estate license,
Yeah.
because you've been critical of that,
It's actually
disgusting.
The video of itself was a minute video. It's funny because in the video, all I was saying, because I got in a DM and it said, "Oh, it's the Jews again." So I responded and I said, "Careful, not the J word. Let's be very careful about who we're attacking here."
Mm-hmm.
And I broke it down from there. And that was the one that I got the complaint over.
Is where you were
Right.
literally correcting
And my
them.
broker listened
Oh
to
my
it. He's like,
God.
"Are you sure this is the video?" I say, "Yes, this is the video.
That's nuts.
This is the video where I'm very blatantly explaining, like, hey, don't be a racist bigot here. Let's call out the people that are worth calling out. But to say an entire religion, an entire race, an entire
crazy.
people is the entire reason for another person's problems is bigoted."
Do you think this is the point? Like the hardcore hardliners in that government want to drive that narrative to foment it around the world,
That being anti-Israel is anti-Jewish? Absolutely.
so that they can foment fear in their own people and use them like pawns?
In
I think
the sense that they strike fear by saying people that are calling out the Israeli government are the enemy and that they should stand up against them.
no. What I'm
do you mean?
saying is when the Netanyahus decide that they can unilaterally speak for all Jewish people around the world, which is fucking crazy.
Right.
Many Jewish people do not support him at all.
Absolutely. Or
And-
the Likud party overall.
Yeah, and pretend that they do, and therefore bring them in on the team publicly in the sense that then they are forced to answer for his actions, which creates a bad environment for them if I'm a Jewish person living in Britain or in France or in
New
fucking
York.
the US.
Yeah.
Right? And now people look at me and go, what the fuck? Because Netanyahu's going on TV saying, calling us all the same thing. I wonder if that's the point sometimes. You know, if you want to take more land over there, if you're Smotrich, Ben Gvir, Netanyahu,
Shout out
and the
Ben
hardlining, shout out Ben Gvir,
Good friend.
fucking scumbag. But like, if you're those guys and you want to take land over there because the Bible promises it to you, you need more people. How do you get more people? You scare people into coming home. And I don't think that's a crazy, like, just throwing that out there, pure spec, obviously. You know, I don't have any inside information. But I don't think that's a crazy psychological idea.
No,
That
I don't
seems
think
to be
it's
what they're
crazy
trying.
at all. I think personally they love the anti-Semitism thing. I think that there's a reasonable theory around this labeling of anybody who dares to question a foreign government's moves by labeling them a racist bigot. You're fueling actual bigotry.
That's right.
Because then you get people who do go out and just say, oh, it's actually all this one person. Well, then we can
100%.
make rules and regulations, and we can say you can't boycott it. And we could say, now we have reason to believe. And it's not because of what the people who are actually stating the fact are doing. It's the people who take that stated fact and then go a level deeper with it, getting bigoted. And now they take the bigoted person and say, well, because of this reason, we need to surveil and maybe even restrict some of the content that's going out. I mean, BB said it before, the TikTok is the 8th front of the war. They're utilizing content creators, and he refers to them as weaponry. That this is the biggest battle going on is social media. And I think that they do enjoy, in a way, the anti-Semitism, because the real anti-Semitism, because it gives them ammunition to keep fighting.
That's right.
It gives them ammunition to
self-fulfilling
for
prophecy.
Ben Gvir to say we need to just have 3,000 Lebanese mothers dying for everyone that cries here in Israel.
Crazy.
Yeah, that we need to completely decimate an entire population, that they can say completely Holocaustic adjacent things live on Twitter, and we're supposed to just go to our jobs and eat salad and be okay with people dying.
It's nuts, man. There's no explanation for it that is good at this point. And I'm very aware of, and it exists in all things, the psychological human nature we all have, which is that if people call you something untrue loudly and strongly enough over and over and over again,
and long
eventually a human being can be pushed to become that thing. And that's
what does the phrase say? A lie loud enough and long enough and it becomes true?
There you go.
Yeah.
Same exact psychological wavelength. It's like that's what you're describing right there. And I see it again and again and again. And I watch people get pushed, and I'm like, ugh. But I see where it started. And so, I don't know if like my approach is the right approach. That's not for me to say, but like I do my best to like just drown out the noise and call it like I see it.
Yeah.
And then people say what they say and I ignore it, or if I see it, I then ignore it afterwards. What the fuck am I going to do? Anybody can say what they want on the internet, but I think we have a crisis of leadership around the world right now.
Amen.
That is unlike anything we've seen in a while.
Crisis of leadership, and our economy is out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
We're out of balance. And I think we talked about it beforehand. Big friend of the show, Tim Dillon.
Shout out Tim Dillon.
Shout out Tim.
I love that phrase, him bringing that back, friend of the show. It's great.
And we can't use it anymore. It's now completely copyrighted by Tim
it's
Dillon.
his.
Yeah, it's his word now.
Deservedly so.
It's very few times when someone brings up a phrase that isn't new and somehow it's now theirs.
We do have one here.
Oh, what is that?
Oh, pure spec.
Pure spec?
Yeah.
What was that? Where's that source?
Pure speculation.
he's
Oh,
saying,
pure
like,
speculation.
a friend of the show
Already existed before. That's fair.
Yeah, it's a very common phrase, but somehow he took it over and now it's his.
Yeah.
But he had a great point, of the 60s, 70s, 80s, with all this corruption. Like you mentioned the Church Committee, we mentioned Vietnam, we mentioned, things like Reaganomics, the gold standard. Like a lot of boomers will still say, like, the gold standard, that's when the economy got rid. Like the CIA has been corrupt for forever. Oh, like they'll admit that. But they didn't have to suffer financially or economically. So they were just like, yeah, it's fine. Some yellow people are dying overseas. It's fine. I have 401k.
I got my beach house.
Right. I get to go on a vacation once a year. Wifey don't have to work. I can beat her if she doesn't have lunch ready for me. It's a beautiful world there in the 60s and 70s. And they didn't have to worry about shit. So of course they didn't care. But now people can't afford shit or beat their wife. So of course now, I'm all joking. Of course, please don't beat anybody. In fact, we need more wives beating husbands. We need more of that in America. But people didn't have to worry financially. So of course, like the corruption was kind of like second fiddle. Yeah. Now they can't afford it. And social media is blasting it everywhere. Kind of gets back into the earlier conversation of, is it purposeful? Are they trying to make us angry and broke?
I have a movie scene in my head right now where I can't see the actor's face or what movie it is, but like he's sitting at a desk at the, typing stuff in, and like the police scanner's on and someone's screaming, "There's blood everywhere! Somebody help! Get here right now!" And he goes and like just turns it off.
Other guys.
Yeah, it's the other guys. He just turns it off and keeps typing. That is the boomer generation. Hey, if I can't hear it, I can't see it. And if I can't see it, it's not real. So life will go on.
Real
Sorry.
talk.
Sucks to suck.
Yep.
But that's it, man.
The boomer IRA is fine. Their housing value is
right.
fine. They don't have to. They're getting discounts everywhere. Like the boomers are the last people that need a discount on their wireless plan.
That's right.
We need to have Gen Z discounts, non-asset holding discounts. If you do not own a home, you get 50% off chicken nuggets. That's what we need.
I would go for that. That's a good deal.
That's what we need.
It's a starting point.
A starting point.
Starting point. Zach, we're gonna find the light at the end of that tunnel, brother. We're going through a tougher period right now, economically, socially, culturally, geopolitically. I mean, every kind of Lee there is right now. But like, you know, you and I, like we were saying at the beginning, we were talking off camera too, like, we're both optimists. It's important to point out the problems so, you know, people can collectively find a way to come together, find some common ground after, you know, 10 years here of people disagreeing on fucking everything. Find common ground that every person can agree on and try to fix the system so we have a better system for generations to come. But I do think we're going to have an opportunity to do that. And, you know, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have some things along the way that aren't clearly injustices. It'll happen. Like right now we're watching one play out with Epstein that hopefully changes where it's like people aren't getting prosecuted. That's fucking crazy, to be clear. But like we have to find ways to get stacked W's. Yeah. Even if there's things we're pissed off about, look at it, be pissed off about it, try to change it for the future and stack W's with other things. And like maybe we can make this a great country for the next 250 years. I'd like to think we can.
Maybe the light at the end of the tunnel is lit by torches.
Maybe. On that note, everyone go check out Zach. He's got a great YouTube channel doing an amazing show coming up on 100 episodes. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you've already seen him in your Instagram feed and your TikTok feed. He's been there, a mainstay for a while, making amazing content. I hope to see some full Drewski level skits coming up though soon.
100%, brother.
Right.
And anybody who saw the corruption map, we didn't even get into the real inflation tracker or our Trump economy tracker.
Oh yeah, you have some videos on that.
All of those tools are available within our member platform on YouTube. So all these documents are available to look through.
Fuck yeah.
Trump trackers on trumptracker.org.
We will collab this video so you can click Zach's channel literally like on the title of the video and go subscribe.
Easy
and then if you
peasy.
want to check out the members section, that's literally right there on the homepage to get all that data. But dude, great finally meeting you in person.
100%.
Great conversation.
meeting you,
We will
brother.
do this again, all right?
Absolutely, brother.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. What's up, guys? Thanks so much for watching the video. If you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button before you leave, as well as leaving a like on the video. It's a huge, huge help. You can join my Patreon via the link in the description, and you can also join my clipping community via the Discord link down below. See you for the next episode.